This gives me something to work with. I hit record just so I like editing a little bit ahead of it.
Okay.
Let's do a cheers. Let's do a cheers.
Cheers.
I'm not ready.
Cheers.
Come on.
Oh, got condensation. Woo. My fault.
Cheers. All good.
It's water, guys. It's just in red cups.
Yeah.
I'm taking that out.
It's fucking vodka, man. It's fucking vodka, man.
Alright, let me see. Those are good. Alright. Let's get it. What's poppin', Legacy League? It's your boy MarquisSoLive from the Coming to You Live podcast. I'm here today with a couple of true and awesome friends of mine. Coming from my right. What you got?
I'm Christine. Hello, everybody.
I'm Luis, Lou for short.
I am Sean Gomes, aka Gomes, aka Sean, aka Sean Gomes.
AKA.
All right.
So today we're doing this. You know, it's Halloween weekend. I was gonna dress up, and then I decided, man, it's gonna be way too hot, and I'm probably right. Probably right. So I decided to throw some sweats on. You know, I said, all right, man. I asked one of my great friends, Christine. I asked some of my soon-to-be great friends, you know, from this class that I've been in, just come over, chat it up with me. You know, I want to spend some time. Like, it's not Christmas, but I'm trying to be with people for a little bit. You know, feel cared about. You know, this is the treat. But otherwise, man, how you guys doing, man? What's up? Like, what's poppin'?
Doing great, man. I'm pretty good. It's great to be here because, like, I was talking to you, right? When I was in the class talking to you and just kind of getting all that, like, your knowledge. Like, I want to, like, expand that and understanding where you're coming from. And, like we said, we have the same goal and just going through that, man, trying to get to learn all the things you're doing so I can use that for my future, you know?
Man, I feel that, man. Just getting little people who you can vibe with, and then they're on some I like to call it some grown-ish. They're all about it. Whether that's going to get breakfast, ramen for breakfast, or just like yo man, I'm trying to like sit and make money for the rest of my life. So I do appreciate you coming out there. What's up,
Of course,
G?
man.
What's up, man?
How you doing, man?
Highly motivated, truly dedicated. I tell everybody that, but no, honestly, like I said, man, really happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I guess for me it was like the interesting fact when you were like, oh, I'm from the '76. I was like, okay. I was like, so what year you grad? So and then I was like, oh, so you know DC? It's like Dark Chris. I was like, yeah, I know Dark Chris. I played basketball with him, and then so you know Ron too. So shout out to DC, shout out to Ron. But yeah. So but I mean, like I said, man, just happy to be here, and then the more talking with you, like I said, be able to, I guess, break down that wall, and then like when you did talk, I was like, oh, this motherfucker different. I was like, because once again, right, like perspective, like of you, and you said, I joined to leave, but then I'm back here, and I was like, I laugh because like you figure you would want to stay here to be close to family and catch that check.
Yeah.
So. Man, like I said, man, just happy to be here. Just happy to go ahead and get everybody's perspective about everything.
Yes, sir.
Just so you guys know, I'm just gonna insert that we're all on the beautiful island of Hawaii. You know, I grew up here. This is my stomping ground for all intents and purposes. But yeah, I did join the army to try to leave, and then they were like, "Hey, you know where you should go back to?" And I was like, "Oh dang." Well, I'm happy to be here. You know, reconnecting. I feel like I'm not the same person that I was even a decade ago when I left the island. Like the person I am now, like I feel confident about my day to day. I think it was good that I left, but coming back, I'm like, man, I was just afraid that it's kind of like a find out Santa and we're real or something like that. You're slightly afraid, like, dang man, I just hope that my childhood dreams and how I thought about the island, like Malasal is hitting different.
And the Coco Puffs too. Yeah. Shout out to Lily Hop. Please go ahead and make sure you hit us up.
Fire.
Especially with the butter roll. The butter roll and
You need to put me on, man. You gotta put me on.
I'm telling you, everybody that comes, man, you like Coco Puffs are up there, but the most slept on one is the butter roll with the homemade jelly. That is fire. Like, so you don't get this big from not
Christine,
eating.
have you ever had a Coco Puff?
The cereal?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever had a Coco Puff? Like, yo, break it down to her what a Coco Puff
You
is.
never had a Cocoa Puff. Wow. So I guess that's the thing for the next one, right? We're gonna go ahead and bring some food. So it's a pastry.
Mhm.
So it's what is it's kind of like a malasadas, like, but it's like dough on the outside and it's filled with chocolate, and there's or chantilly, and then it's topped with like a butter topping. Like it's like Hawaii's version of a donut.
Pastry with, filling inside. Then I probably had it
Yeah, and then
at
but
my work. They have those a lot.
yeah, so but then
Oh.
but the top is like the butter
It has
part.
like chocolate, right? Or
Yeah.
sometimes something else.
Chantilly.
Oh, I've had it.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was called a Cocoa Puff.
I never had it.
Never
That's
had
what
it.
I'm
Oh,
saying.
so
You
we
gotta
got
put me
green-
on,
yeah,
man.
So we got green Cocoa Puffs too. Yeah.
Go right here. How you
Oh,
doing?
I wanted to add on about, I think it's important to move away from where you grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you need that experience, right? To get uncomfortable. Oh, but I'm doing well. Hi, everybody.
I was like, are you uncomfortable?
I grew up in Washington. Although I'm a military kid, we moved all over the place. We ended up settling in Washington, which is a place I was born, so I could say I was born and grew up there.
Mhm.
But I'm living in Hawaii now, and it's a very different lifestyle. I'm learning a lot of things, and I think it's important for people to experience that. Some
Right.
people will just stay in the same state forever. They'll never leave. Like, they should see the world, other countries.
Mhm. No, I agree
Oh,
with
and how
that.
are you?
Thank you. No, I'm doing fantabulous. Second from Washington. I'm from Evan Beach. I also claim Virginia Beach because I was born there, and then they moved me at a very young age to Waiua, and then eventually to Evan Beach, where I did
76.
most of my maturing years. 76 South. And
For y'all don't know.
let's go around the room. Like, where's everybody from?
So I was born and raised in the Philippines. So born and raised in the Philippines and learned everything from there. I was a teenager when I left. I moved to United States, Reno, Nevada to be exact, in 2012. I only lived there for about 2 years, so I can't really say it's my hometown in the United States because I lived there for 2 years, went to high school there, but I joined the military after that 2 years. So joined the military and moved all over the place, and that's like she was saying, like my perspective opened of different cultures, different food, different places, like the humidity in the East Coast, West Coast, rain in the Washington State, and now I'm in Hawaii.
When you went to
Man, that's
Washington,
dope.
I was.
where? Bremerton?
No, I was in JBLM, so I was in Tacoma area, Seattle, Tacoma area. Yeah.
Gotcha, that's cool. But then, what is you said Reno?
Reno, man.
Reno 911.
Reno 911 wasn't even filmed in Reno.
Oh, was it?
No, that's in
Oh,
I
yeah,
heard it's from
that's-
California, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
They sold me then.
Yeah, man, there we go.
Got me beat.
So, a little bit about me. So, not from Hawaii. Born and raised in Southern California. But my father was born on the island of Molokai. So, but I've been very blessed my entire life because I've been going back and forth from there, Molokai and the Nai since like Hanabata days, which is like grade school. Like so, Hanabatas is like like the snot that you get that forms at your nose and stuff. So I used to go there for the summers, hang out with all my cousins to get that that different perspective. Like I said, really fortunate and blessed because now growing older, appreciating that of like wow, like that helped set me up for my future endeavors. So yeah, and then because going back to Cali, right, like part I grew up, predominantly white Mexicans and blacks.
Mm-hmm.
So now like being that bridge, just to like pull everybody together. Cause like for us in my group, man, we was everybody. Like we had Laotians, we had white dudes, we had black dudes. We had athletes. Like we soccer players, we had everybody. So, it's just very thankful for that. Very thankful for that.
Nah, not me, man. I was, I think, since middle school, I've hung out with the same like 10 black people. So I left the island. Like I was just like, man, like where do they make us? Because they're not shipping out here. You know what I mean?
I think it's the water. I think it's the water.
I was like, maybe that's
Sorry,
it. Nah. That's probably it, man. Because even the public pools, like, ain't nobody really going to no pools. Like anytime my people would be like, "Oh, we're having a pool party,"
Nah.
I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good. Is there food? Bring me a plate.
Yeah.
That's it. But I feel that. I mean, so growing up with a variety, Christina, you have a variety kind of growing up? Variety of
Food?
different, like, no, not food, but people.
No,
Like,
not
was it
really.
just predominantly, like, who were you surrounded by?
Well, it's Marysville, Washington. It's north of Seattle, and it's
Okay.
Caucasian city.
Mm-hmm.
Very conservative city too.
Conservative,
Yeah, very
Caucasian.
conservative.
A fun fact about Caucasian, I actually was just reading this on Natty Geo. Caucasian actually referred to a certain group in Africa, and
Whoa.
Really?
it got taken within the
Should I say
history.
white then? I just don't want to
Yeah,
say
like
white.
white was being grouped up with the European,
Okay.
and
It's
so
like
European then.
it was just
Bunch of
interesting.
Anglo-Saxons too,
Anglo-
right? Yeah, yeah. There's that
And like
Anglo-Saxon one of them
Caucasian
too, right?
at some point in the history book. I mean, it's not like recent, but at some point in the history books was more associated with a certain part of Africa than it was what we know is today. Like that's a Caucasian male. There's actually I'll probably pull it up in post. There's actually been certain images of old textbooks of like different like because the African was different than the Caucasian. Like the African had like even wider noses and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. I'm actually gonna bring it up
Actually does
probably in
sound
post,
interesting.
and I'll show you guys after. I'll shoot you a text like, "Yo, this is what I was talking about." Black people, we out here, right? What about you? I know you grew up different,
So
like
so
variety.
yeah, so I grew up in the Philippines, and I mean I'm just around Filipinos my whole life. Uh, I mean there's some mixed Filipinos that I met, but it's just predominantly like Filipinos. Until even when I moved to Reno, Nevada, actually, I tend to hang out to the Filipinos that was in the same school. So like that was my group of friends, just a bunch of Filipinos. They might have like a couple of different races, like a one C's or two C's, but 99% Filipinos. Until I joined the military, and that's kind of like what opened my eyes. So like I lived in the barracks. My roommate was white, and my next door neighbor in the is he's black, and we just like click. We're just having a
Like
bunch
the
of
Three
people,
Musketeers,
Yeah,
we just a bunch.
everybody.
Yeah, we just about we have everyone in there. We have we call him Maui. He's from Maui. No, but
Like, 'cause I had a boy. His name was Jared. Without Jared, but he actually we called him White Boy, and he was a white boy. Like, I'm not his name. Like I called it out to him one time. We were driving. I was driving home with my dad, and I was like, "White boy." He was like, don't do that. That's his name.
Yeah.
That's his name.
Yeah,
He's like, don't. No, I don't care.
Yeah.
You can't be yelling that out. My dad from Georgia. My dad.
Oh,
my dad
yeah.
from Atlanta. You can't just be yelling out stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of it though too, cause like I said, I grew up in Moreno Valley, but from my mom's side, they were in a city called Paris, just south of there, and a lot of Mexicans and a lot of blacks and stuff like that. But one of the street kids that used to come by to the apartments where my cousins and them live, and we just be playing around and stuff. His name was Homie, like legit, but like back then, right, growing up, like you like, hey, like that's my homie, like that's my dog, like that's my compa, like. But his legit, well, I want to say legit, but that's how we referred to him. Was like, hey, homie, like like what's up, homie? And then so when he would meet like my uncle and my aunt, we still talk about that to this day. Like we just laugh about it because it's so interesting how like nicknames like that stick, you know.
you,
And once again, it's nothing like derogatory, nothing
Yeah,
negative.
yeah.
It's just like how you like that's my people, like.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. How it stuck his name is because he was introducing himself to the company, and his name, my name is Pekelo Agader, I'm from Maui, Hawaii, and yeah, and then like, what's your name? Pekelo Agader. We're gonna call you Maui. Hey, mine, all right. And his whole time in the unit, it was called Maui,
Yeah.
and I still call him Maui to this day. Like, hey, what's up, Maui? Like, like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just
see,
how it is.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like it's cool to see like that as a military like theme, right? Because like once again, right, we're scattered across the entire country,
Yeah.
and not learning how to like enunciate or pronounce people's names, right? Like even to myself, like I'll go down like my UMR list, and there's some names where like I'm saying like syllable by syllable, and then my boss is teasing me because he's like, bro, like you're way off, and like but I want to pronounce her name right because that's her name, right? Give him ownership of like
Yeah,
her name.
definitely.
Like you know what I'm saying, like your name is very powerful. But I always catch myself too because like for me, like I'm like at least my time when I was active, everybody had like really easy names to pronounce, right? Like you have your Smiths, your Williams, yeah,
Ryan.
like there was like I think there was like we probably had was like his name and last name was like Bernhoff or something like that, or but like for me I was like man it's a Viking, and like World of Warcraft was hot, so right I called him like the Lich King, like son of Valhalla, like because he was a Viking, he was proud of that, so. I think it's always very interesting like that to hear how nicknames come up and if they stick or not.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, you guys got any crazy nicknames? Like, I know right now, as far as nicknames, I grew up with so many of it. Like, I can kind of tell almost like where I know that person from. Based on what they shouted out. Like, I got people that I grew up with that call me Trey, Trey, because I play basketball or whatnot. I know other people that call me O'Neal. That's the military last name. But then I even got down to the base because I had in Bragg mostly black people, but it's like O'Neezy. O'Neezy. Like I had never heard anything. Sorry, O'Neezy. And I was like, that's a longer name than O'Neal. But I flew. And then
It's smooth though, it flew.
It rolls off the tongue.
When social media, I always decided, I was like, you know what? I got two identities between my first name, because sometimes in the military, it's always catch you off guard. If you used to hearing your last name a lot, it started to catch you off guard when you hear your first name again.
Especially who says it though. Especially who says it too. Like that's another thing too. Mm-hmm. Like if if a superior saying like, "Oh, like yo, am I in trouble?" Like like yo,
what happened, man?
First name? You're in trouble?
Oh yeah, like or like
it might be like like. It's kind of like
growing up with parents, right?
We know. Like growing up with someone, when parents call like your whole name.
Oh, it's a rap.
Like if you like, I know some Anna Marie, so friggin' instead of Anna, be like Anna Marie, blah blah blah, and they'll be like, oh dang, she gotta get a pow. Right?
You better watch out for that slipper throw.
Start ducking, but Marquis is the one that I associate with just social media, because I feel like social media is what I put out. Social media, that's a tricky thing, man. It's a lot of what people showing their best side. It's very rare that you'll see someone that's just like, yo man, I don't feel like anything good, and I'm just gonna show the world. I feel ugly as hell today. Show the world, my hair ain't good, my face ain't good. But whatever, it's very rare. You usually see like a curated picture of like something edited. So I try to associate that with what I'm trying to put out. Because my goal is to be what I got on social media. What you got, G?
I've been called Miss Klutzy Bad Juju Girl.
Whoa, bad juju.
That
The
is.
frat house that I lived in over the summer, they let girls live there for $250 a month. It was really cheap, so I did it. I fell down the stairs. But I wasn't drunk or anything. I just fell down the stairs, and one of the brothers, who's a Native American guy, was like, "Oh, Miss Klutzy Bad Juju Girl."
Dang. Oh. And he probably said it like he had it
Quick.
Juju Girl. Say that 5 times.
So that's that and Twinkle Toes.
Twinkle Toes.
Twinkle Toes is also related to me falling a lot.
Oh.
It was just confusing because they called Avatar Aang that.
I'm about to give you a pillow.
You've seen me fall today twice.
Yeah. You're right, Ashley. Dang, man, what about you?
Me, so back in the Philippines, right? Back in the Philippines. So I have 2 first names, Luis and Carl. Starts with a K. So, but my mom calls me, or my family calls me Kaloy. So that's my nickname when I was in the Philippines. And then, like in the military, they ask me Igoy, and they see my last name because they can't really pronounce it. So I usually just say, yeah, just do it backwards. It's Yogi. Like, oh, Yogi. All right. So sometimes they call me Yogi, because sometimes I was trying to figure out if my name is Luis or Louis, or like, because the way it's spelled. But yeah, like to me, just right now I'm just used to Igoy because that's my last name.
Like Bon Bon.
No, like.
My friends call me Tintin. Filipino.
Yeah, like tend to like repeat words.
Checha, and then I had a friend that was Bon Bon.
No, never had one, but Kaloy was like Kaloy was the thing. There we go. Ting ting. like my dad's Dodoy, you know, like
Yeah,
so.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so like mine is just Kaloy. That's my nickname back in the Philippines, and that was stuck to me back then.
Yeah, it's cool. For me, so growing up, I played baseball after I played basketball. So believe it or not, I used to have actually a lot of hair. And so a lot of hair. I know it's hard to believe, but yeah, it was like so. I used to have like like Goku hair and like Vegeta hair like growing up. So, but when I played baseball though, like I would wear my hat and then I would make sure I like spike up the back and stuff like that. And so one of the teams I used to play on, they used to call me Sonic just because I had so much hair. It wasn't because I was fast like him, but even though like I would always like steal bases and stuff like that, but I was like they would call me Sonic. So I was like the baseball group that I hung out with. They called me Sonic. So pretty cool. And I wish that would have stuck, but then so like I was telling you earlier, during the pre-talk. So my family like from OC. I don't know how it stuck with me. I don't know how it stuck with me, but they call me Panocha, right? So as you know in Spanish, right? Like you know what it means, right? So I don't know if I can say it or whatever. So they call me pussy, right? Like, but then I remember watching Tony Sopranos, right? And that was one of the characters' names. I was like, oh, Panocha. Like I'm just gonna own it, right? So then my cousin that always called me that, I started to call him Verga, right? Which means penis. So his brother is called Bearcat, right? And then our other cousin, we call him D-Rock because his name is Derek, right? So that, I mean, this, man, you're talking about what, 21? So what, like 13 years ago? And they still call me to this day, like everybody calls me Panocha. Like, hey, what's up, Panoch? Like even my uncle, my aunts, see me, like they call me Panoch. And then of course too, like I said, with the AKAs like Sean Gomes and Gomes, like you said, Marquis, about how like certain group of friends call you certain things. So that was my family, but then my homies that I went to high school with, they call me Sean Gomes, right? Like that's how they would introduce me to their family as like Sean Gomes. But then sometimes it got labeled too long, so they just call me Gomes. But Sean Gomes stuck. This is a fact. Remember when Mike Jones came out? Yeah, hoop Mike Jones, hoop Mike Jones. So they were part of a party crew, and when that song would come out, I was like, "Who? Sean Gomes." And that so that like nobody would ever know me by like just my first name. So it's either Sean Gomes or Gomes. Like even like to this day. So I went recently to one of my best friend's wedding. Even his mom, still to this day, calls me Gomes. Where's Gomes? Gomes, come over here. Like I'm like, yo, like come on, like man, my name's Sean, but. It's just man, it's just one of those
Over
things.
here,
That,
I'm pointing with the lips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so the reason why was so what ended up happening was they bought a pig, like full on pig, and they had nobody to cut it, like nobody. So out of like the X amount of people who was there, right? Because now I live in Hawaii, so I cut pigs like every other weekend, right? They're like, yo, like we need you to chop it up. I was like, oh my gosh, like. If it wasn't your wedding, bro, like I wouldn't do it. But okay, I got you. So I had to cut up the lechon and stuff like that. So.
Okay, I wanted to backtrack and I want to interrupt, but I wanted to comment on like the pussy thing. Like, why do people see that as weakness and balls as strength? When we kick a guy in balls, he's on the floor, but then pussy be like, we take dicks. Sorry, is that too much?
I want y'all to know, I don't take any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, our girls that hate that, we take that, we can take that, and then we can give birth. It's a strong, I think of it as a strong thing, but when people say pussy, they call it's like a weakness. Okay. And then balls is strength, but I can kick you right now and you'd be on the floor. I won't do that.
So real quick.
Unless you swing first.
No, but that's an interesting fact because that was kind of one of those things I used to deal with. I was like, yo, why they call me like pussy? They're just calling me a pussy. Like I'm just like some scrub. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like man, like you not know who your cousin is? But then as I guess our as we started to grow and spend more time together, like for me, I realized it was a term of endearment. Like right because it was my own ownership, right? Like it was like yo, I made a conscious effort to drive about 2 hours to come see them, right, and to hang out with them. So like that's how I looked at it. Was like yo, like it's a nickname but a term of endearment because I have ownership of it because they know that I'm the only one that they call out of all of their friends, all of our family and stuff like that. It's just something that that they held very dear to me, and like I said, like I just embraced it. Like I said, it's nothing derogatory or nothing, but like I said, just a term of endearment that which I share with my family.
You make a lot of effort for your family too.
Yeah.
I actually don't know where that came from though. That's actually an interesting thing to like ask about. Like oh, dude, I got big balls. Like kind of like, oh yeah, he's brave, you know, stuff like that. But like I don't know.
I've always thought because of words, as a wordsmith, as some would say, you know, you used to be on the track and whatnot. I would say that words are definitely defined by your inner group because, like, I know some females that they'll call each other like bitches back and forth, but it's endearment between the circle.
Yeah.
But someone outside of that circle calls them, you know, a bit. That's it. Like they're ready to fight.
Well,
Yeah.
the
So
word
Oh,
it's like that in
nah.
ours, but in the UK it's commonly used.
yeah.
They say it all the time.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
like
that's
that's
like
that's
yeah.
an
That's true.
example
Culture
of like
thing. Yeah, that's a
you,
culture
if
Sorry
you
for saying that.
if you say I was like
You could bleep me out.
Yeah, because here though, like if you say that in Hawaii, that's like automatic, like 0 to 100, like
Yeah.
yo, you scrap it.
it's
Like you bang, you like yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
I don't know. I just think that it's all about where you're from and what words mean to you.
yeah.
And there's a lot of different things. Like in my household, we don't call each other losers. Like that's a real thing. Like you think about anger. Like I call my little brother a loser. He did something. I think I actually beat him in something, and then my pops like shut it down. I thought he was kidding. Like I thought it was like this like a reinforcement type deal. He was like, "Nah, we don't call nobody losers here. We got no geeks."
Yeah,
I was like, "Yo, Dad, like you know I make straight A's. Like what's why?
I'm
why
in
you
the
so
anime,
big?
yo. I watch Pokemon.
Right.
I watched the
Dragon Ball
first
Z
episode.
is top 10.
I watched the first episode where Ash was trying to get him in the Pokeball, you know? No, but that's to me. I think that's what's so great. Because now that you mentioned it, Christine, like for me, I know I can kind of assume. Once again, I don't mean to assume, but them calling me that, they knew that got to me. Like I said in the beginning, got me under my skin, and it would fire me up to whatever we were doing. Because like I said, like we did all kind of stuff, man. We played like wizard staff. We would go bowling. We would play basketball. We play ping pong, shooting pool. But they'd always call me Pinocha, like to fire me up, like especially him, because my one cousin, like I said, Vedga, like man, like he fires me up, bro. Like and he, like when I'm trying to be positive, like he'll shut that down, like real quick, like oh, fake news. But I know he's doing it, because that's a relationship that we have, like you know, because I do the same thing to him, like oh scrub, oh no nerd, right? Like, but it's just to fire you up, you know, just to bring out that level for us, you know, to bring out that level of competitiveness because like our family like thrives on it. Like we love it. Like we compete at everything. We can play Pictionary and like you know what I'm saying. Like we playing for that dub because now I get to hold that over for you for the rest of your life and you gonna remember that that I beat you. So I think now that you said it, like you put it in perspective like that.
Do you have an answer, like, or what you
No, it's just
believe that the reason that for your question? Like, I was just curious. Did you like? Were you asking that? Do you have like your opinion of why?
It just always comes up in my head.
You're still looking for it.
Yeah.
I mean, what we're saying like when it comes to different cultures and where you're at, like words have different meanings.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think it's the meaning of strength, and I want to like reimagine that word.
just don't call me a pussy, personally. No, because here's the thing. If it's endearment for you, doesn't mean it is endearment for me. Like that's what I was saying. We gotta know it's a boundary type of thing.
Yeah.
Now
100%.
why
100%,
that might
yeah.
be and why that might be termed, it may not even be a connection to pussy and weak. It might just be like I just don't want anything that sounds like a connection to me being weak because vulnerability is a harder thing for men to openly show.
Yeah,
So I usually, if you even call me like soft, like you say "aw," if I walk down the corner, you say, "Oh, look at that, you looking cute today." I'll be like, "Man, I'm a gangster." You know what I'm saying?
Thug life.
I look handsome. I look sexy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I just personally, I think it's all up to someone's core values. What they believe, like. How you think like the world should be and how you want your vision. Because I don't think there's no right or wrong answer for that. But if someone doesn't want a certain thing or they make it, uncomfortable or they're like, hey, I don't want to be associated with this, that's one thing. When we're talking about what they want, how they want the world to look as opposed to what they think the world is, like saying this equals that, like as a definite, I think now we're getting into, okay, why are we getting into this conversation? But I think right now we're still at a should. I don't think that's universal.
Yeah.
Some people don't like being called a dick, because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
getting turned as a negative thing.
Yeah,
so,
it is. That's interesting.
so
But than balls.
technically
is
being
straight.
called like, but no one's calling you balls. They're saying you got balls. You
Yeah.
got balls.
What's up,
Yeah,
balls?
they say, what's
What's
up,
up,
balls?
balls?
Hey, yo, balls.
Yo, there's only one of me, yo. There's only one of me, yo. What you talking about, too?
So, I mean, does that help a little bit? What's been eating up on you?
Yeah, you're right.
Just so we didn't talk about calling somebody balls. Don't do it. Don't do it. I wanted two people
Why
to
is
turn around.
dick considered
A mean
a
thing?
mean thing? Yeah.
Dicks don't look good. They look angry.
It's because I have an R.
It looked like a dick.
They
Yeah.
yeah, man, you look angry. You look all
Yeah.
seated. That's my opinion. Yeah, I think they just look angry. They're not appealing. They're not appetizing. You know, nothing pretty. No one's ever looked at a mushroom or anything and been like, yo, that's a
true.
great piece of art right there. Like, I'm about to draw that.
You just have a painting of mushrooms all over the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Love that they have a big dick.
Yeah, but like we wrote, like we had tails. I think we do the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
yo, man, my tail is long.
Yeah.
With that pickup
It's
for Drake.
elite.
Yeah.
Boy, I got an elite tail.
Yeah. I got balance, you know. I got balance.
Yeah, my tail got
Watch my
balance,
tail.
strong tail.
Like Goku, you know?
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
Well, so, but even with tails, like that's an interesting topic. Like, why do we have tailbones?
Mm.
Like, why? Like, has anybody ever thought about that? Like, yo, I don't have a tail, but I have a tailbone. Like that,
Still got tailbone.
right? Like,
Could be just what it's called too, you know? Like could just be what it's called, or like evolution, where we came from. Used to have a tail and not anymore. Like
Yeah.
There's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
theories on that, man.
If
I mean,
you believe it, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all like I think it's a posture thing. I think a lot of things have balance. Like think about the fact that if you lost your big toe or something like that, like your
Actually, I
balance
knew a
would be,
kid.
like,
I knew a
completely
kid
off.
from Lanai. Yeah,
So
he,
it's
he
like-
didn't have a big toe, man. It was like the craziest thing though too. Like, cause like usually, cause you know, in Hawaii, you just wear
Mhm.
slippers all the time, right?
you know,
So I was saying without his big toe like gone, it was just like it's just weird. Like it's just like.
What happened to it?
I forgot, to be honest with you. I don't even want to tell a crazy story. I'm not even gonna assume, but I just remember he lost his toe.
nah, I tell you,
Yeah.
it sets off your balance. Not having thumbs sets off your balance.
Mhm.
Like, I just think the tailbone was one of those things for like seating posture and balance.
But you can rebalance yourself.
Yeah, you can learn to live without one of your ears too. But
It's dance.
I
We're not
prefer
supposed
not
to
to.
like have our weight on our toes. It's supposed to be back here. So, when I was first learning Tahitian dance, my teacher would tell me to lift my toes just so they could be in the back, the balls of my feet. I guess. Does that make sense?
no, it does. No, I was just saying, like, I just think that it's one of those things that at a core, it's a function. It serves a key function, and that we just were forget. Like, it's kind of like if you shave your eyebrows, you start getting a lot more sweat in your eyes because they catch sweat.
You know, I would just do fancy stuff with makeup so it look really good.
Yeah, but then your sweat's
Instead
still
it's
not
like-
right. You'd have
I
some
gotta-
fire makeup effect, so.
Yeah, but the human body is amazing.
Yeah,
It
hundred
can
percent.
adjust. It can adjust.
100% agree. I 100% agree with that because I feel as if like we shortchange the ability that the human body has, right? Like I mean, think about it, right? Like how does a person hold their breath and go down 200 feet, right? Like it's crazy, right? Like how does a triathlete go ahead and swim 2 miles, get out the water, bike 130 miles, and then go out and run a marathon for time? Like that's just crazy to me, right? Or even like for us, right? Like they go to all these schools, like all these type of trainings, right? SF or like like aerosol, like all those things. Like to me, that's just so crazy and fascinating. Or even like
The body's
pilots.
resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You eat 20 tacos in one setting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
still be like, I'm hungry.
Not even just physical, like cognitive functions, like just being able to think too fast, just different functionality of the brain. Brain is so complex that you can't even use it as a transplant because I don't know, I don't know the science behind it, but it's just just learning every day, and people are still learning about the body,
100%. Was it because we use like only 30%?
of the brain,
brain of the
yeah,
brain,
something like
right.
that, man. I don't know.
See, that's just a movie.
Is that
I've
just-
seen that movie too.
It's a fire
My
movie.
bad.
I think
Telling out fake facts, my
well,
fault.
I think the science was you use all of your brain because they all have different
But
parts.
a different
Yeah.
type.
But
Yeah.
if we're talking about for a certain function like balance or like that's only a certain percentage, but in order to do everything your day to day, you're using 100% of your brain. But for a certain like imagination or something like that, like they said the science that that's a certain part of your brain.
Mm.
So that's why some people has like a stroke or they not get oxygen to the brain. Like sometimes they can't like function, they can't walk, they lose certain motor skills,
Yeah.
but they're still conscious. They can still do other things. A lot of things that happen where people that's almost drowned and they cut off that oxygen, they start suffering some after effects. So part of their brain starts. The body just clocks out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like talk about risky business. Like the body will just be like deuces.
Yeah.
Same
That's where that
thing.
shock comes into and all that stuff.
But
Yeah.
there's also special cases like a kid drowning, but then, you know, they're a kid, their brain was able to function again because they're young enough.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, because
or
it's a
kid
muscle,
getting
right?
their
It's a muscle.
brain, like part of the brain cut, but then that the brain's still functioning like a non-cut brain. Gosh, does that make
No,
sense?
that does. I think that there.
Because it's resilient
I think
at
there's.
that early age.
I think there's exceptions to the rule in a lot of things. So I think that we should have those type of people that can do that. And then, especially you said because kids, they're still developing. You know, that's not like we didn't pop up and then our brain was just that size. Sometimes I look at kids and I think like that's as big as your brain has to get. Big headed, big. The kid gonna be smart.
Yeah, yeah.
That kid done got balance right there. Got that loose in that.
Your neck gonna hurt, you know.
Definitely, I would definitely say that those type of functions, when it comes to the brain, it's such an interesting like collection of things that we just do passively. Like the nervous system, like the fact that we have over 8 systems within our body and they just happen is just crazy. I'm not a science nerd, but I am taking biology right now. Paying attention.
Yeah.
Physiology specifically.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think you hit it on the head right there. Like it's just, you did too, Christine. Like it's just so like resilient. And once again, I don't think we give enough credit to that on like how powerful like an individual person is, right? Like the potential of them, right? Like I feel like as if society has kind of groomed us to like where we got to be dependent on certain things or we need certain medications to go ahead and push us to that next level. When in all honesty, it's just about making a choice and making a decision and just that's it. This is just what it's gonna be. This is what I'm gonna do. This is who I'm gonna be, and that's it. You know, I mean, once again, easier said than done because right, you have all these outside factors, but if you're just keeping it as simple as you can, it's just choice, right? You know, like to have that ability to, like, yo, I'm gonna be negative or positive today, right? I'm gonna handle this situation negative or positive today, you know.
Right.
So,
Right.
With that, the thought, like the way that your body controls, like like we said, the brain is complex, and you have a thought, and it just affects your whole body on how it does. You know, you get pinched by something, and that reflex is so quick that you feel that pain right away. You know, like it went like your nervous system sent signal through your brain and back saying that that hurts.
Yeah.
That's just so complex. It's crazy.
I think it's pretty interesting that like there are the things that we do passively, you know, like things that we don't even like know, like when we get hot, you know, we just start sweating. We don't have to think like, oh man, I gotta start sweating.
That's true, man. That's true.
And it starts cooling out. It just happens, you know, when the body starts reacting. But I think what's interesting with that is that when we start thinking that everything else is on autopilot, you know what I mean? Like freaking, like if I was driving up today, and someone almost didn't because I got a fast car, but someone almost cut me off or wouldn't let me get over, and I was just like, man, like it's kind of annoying. But like instead of just like reacting, like and just having that autonomous, you know, like effect, like I slowly started thinking, I was like, all right, he could just be having a bad day.
having a bad day.
Like yeah, he could be having a bad day.
Having a bad day, or honestly, it's just like some people just not self-aware. You know, like
Yeah.
self-awareness. Like you know, like it's baffling to me. Like when you pull up next to those people and they're just like 10 and 2, like blinders on. Like yo, like you serious? Like you're in the fast lane. Like come on. Like I mean, right? Like you know, just like because once again, like I think for us, like right, being in the military, like right, I always say it, right? They have all these catchy sayings, but like always know what's around you, surroundings, always check that. But you know, people don't exercise it all the time, right?
Mhm.
Where are you in relation to like the mountains? Where are you in relation to that? Like people just don't. I guess because like they're just probably not exposed to it, right? I think exposure has a lot to do with that on like to being able to logically or just
Working on autopilot?
yeah, just working on yeah, we're just working on
Because
autopilot.
people dissociate when they're in the car. It's a
Mhm.
type of dissociation where all of a sudden, oh, I'm at my destination.
You know.
Yo, speaking of that, have you ever been have you ever been
Right?
driving and then kind of realize as you're driving? 'Cause
It happens to me
I've done
all the
exactly
time, man.
what you done. I've been like sitting there, and then I might be hitting like a good 70, and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, okay, we still driving, huh?
Yeah.
Like, how did I get here, right?
Oh man, did I miss my turn?
Yeah.
Like, so I definitely do exactly what you said, Christy.
It's a form of dissociation and it's very normal.
Especially if it's a routine, you know, you go to the same place every day, you know where to go, you know where you're gonna park, you know where you like come from. You just go over there and just drive. And sometimes you just even thinking about something else and you just realize like, oh, I'm already here at the base. I'm at the gate. And like, and that's when you start thinking again, you know, pull your ID card.
In the Matrix, and I'm about to hear like an intercom. Like, 1 out of 13 billion eliminated. Difficulty increased. Anybody else hear that? Anybody else hear that?
Am I the only
Man.
one?
Like, I be just thinking like, man, this is a glitch. There's some times in life I'm like, yo, this has got to be a glitch. Like,
Yeah.
Matrix or something. Like, something's happening. Like, when it comes to whether it's deja vu or like realizing that you're
Deja
driving,
vu, yeah.
like picking up something really fast, and you're just like, did I just do that?
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, like how we be reacting in life and whatnot. And then I also think that because we were just talking about thoughts and like how you can like be driving and dissociate and just not notice that you're driving and whatnot. But I feel like there's a few things like you can trace back to like just how you grew up or where you come from that can even add on to that because like when it comes to driving like as we said, like you said the 10 and 2, but that's funny because that's like any time that something scary driving happens, like someone almost hits me, or
In the rain.
like it rain, or it's raining, pouring,
Yep.
or you know, like I've driven in the snow before
Yeah.
and had to deal with black ice. That's ice, not guys. You know? I definitely had someone mishear that before. I'm gonna insert this right now. We were doing a safety brief, and I was in the back, and my commander was talking to the formation, and I'm in Germany at this point, you know, so hello to my German listeners, and so I'm in the back, and he's like, all right, guys, so this weekend, you know, be safe, watch out for black guys. And he keeps talking, right? And I like stop, and I'm with another brother right beside me. And I like look, and here's how I was trying to make sure I didn't have a confirmation. Like,
Yeah.
And he also had to look like, hey yo. So I was like, I was just, you know, I was there in formation, and I was a young buck still, so I was like, sir, what was that? One more time, sir. And he was like, I said, watch out for black guys. You said black guys? Watch out. Where are they at? What are they doing? What are they doing this weekend? And he's like, I didn't say the whole formation's bust out. He said, oh, he starts turning bright red. He's like, I didn't say guys. I said ice. Watch out for the black ice. It's winter. I was like, you know what, sir? That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna watch out for black guys on ice though. Now I'm really nervous. He was like, O'Neal, get to the back. And so it was just funny. It made me think about that. But like when it comes to driving, like I have a real laid back. Like I my other car that I got right now I have a Tesla, but my other car is a Mazda, so it's stick shift. It's 2007. So freaking I usually drive with one hand on the wheel, right? I'm driving one hand on the wheel by default, right?
Yeah.
And then I just my shoulders I just lax, you know. I do my measurements, right? And I noticed it because when I got the Tesla, I did the same thing. I put one hand, I didn't know what to do with the other one because there's no stick shift.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, damn, should I start texting or something? Like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. But then I was driving back and it started pouring down, raining, and then instantly, as soon as my car did I did a lane switch and I slid a little too much, I went back to the tenant too.
Yeah.
I went back to what I instinctively from my mom. My mom drives real safe. My dad is not. My dad drives. He had Cadillacs.
Yeah.
He will drive like this through a snowstorm, right? He'll just be like, "Yeah, man, it's crazy out here." Like, yo, you put your other hand on the wheel, pops. Like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
So I feel like I default to just what I know, and that's why I was saying. Like, I feel like when we get into certain situations, like, while we can adjust, because we're taught one way, you know, we're taught, hey, you know, the world is this way. Even our parents teach us, like, hey, like, this is what you be, you know, this is what you should value. And then as we kind of grow up, we do kind of say our own flavor. But I have noticed that in fight or flight, sometimes we do get back to, like, what our safe zone is, like, what, you know, like, I've tried some different stuff in a fight before, got smacked, and was like, nope, I'm going back to what I know. I'm trying to be a kickboxer. I need to be a regular boxer right now. Because this man is strong. This man is strong. I just wanted to open it up to the room. Have you guys ever hit something where you're like, man, like, I thought it was this way, I was raised this way, and then I want to do it my way, and then the default is you going back to maybe the OG way?
I wouldn't even say just like how you grow up. I mean, on the military perspective, right? You're airborne. It's muscle memory. How you do some things. You know, you get trained multiple times, even before a jump. Even though we trained for it already, you do the same thing again, so you know what you do when actually doing the actual performance. So it's muscle memory. You know, like you do something over and over again. You might have just learned it like maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, but you go back to those training because you know it's muscle memory. You do it over and over and over again.
I don't even know how to fall the right way. I always fall and do a little airborne.
And like twist and everything.
Twist my feet are in the air. Crazy.
So that's a great point though, because just like you said, right? Like what's the saying for it? Just like riding a bike, right? Just like default. And the more that you do something, the more that you engulf yourself into whatever it is you're doing, the more that it becomes muscle memory. And that's to me that's really fascinating, right? Like, and even like situations within life, right? Resilience, right? Like the more situations you put yourself in, I guess the more stress, right? Once again, like they're negative things, but the more that you're around that, or the more that you put yourself through it, the more that you're able to cope with it, or can see, or have that optimism to be like, you know what, like I've been through worse, right? I can't go through this. I can't get through this, right? You know what I'm saying? Like to have that, like that's powerful, you know, like it's powerful.
Now, when you say that, I hear sprinkles. It's just sprinkles of what the older generation hits the newer generation on a lot on when we do our comparisons of like, hey, like I used to walk to school, you know, I used to walk 4 or 5 miles to school, man. What are you complaining about? Like we used to get up at 2 o'clock.
Walk 12 miles. Hike through a mountain and everything.
And then with every generation, they had a crazier thing. Say, yeah, so I had to actually cut the chicken up and then make breakfast and still make it on time to drive the bus to school. Okay, so I'm wondering, because I have the belief that, you know, I don't have to shoot you. I don't have to shoot you in the leg for you to know the pain is going to be something that you don't want to deal with. Now, the fact that, can you survive a bullet shot? Yeah, you can't just, you can go on assumptions until it really happens. Now, but as far as like comparing a pain, I don't necessarily subscribe to you have to go through these things in order to build up a certain level. Because as we grow and as like we get more advanced, I tend to see that we have more tools. Like, so we don't have to necessarily go through the same hardships right now.
100% agree. Yeah.
Like this remote stuff that we've been doing, this COVID stuff, just proved that we don't all need to be in the office as often as like that 9 to 5 dictates that we should in order to be productive.
Which is a culture thing though too, right? Because Europe's really good about that, right? They work 4 days out of the week, or like they take lunch, right? Like, you know, but once again though, that's really important, right? It's like, once again, because it's like so subjective of what pain, right, what suffering, what all of that is. But then again, that's the beauty of it. If you really look at that, of like, hey, what you went through, right, and you've gone through that, you're gonna meet or cross paths with somebody for a split second, and you'll be able to share with them that, and you're gonna be able to change their whole perspective on that, you know.
Right.
And man, that's just powerful because like you said, like for we talk about generation thing,
Mm-hmm.
our parents and our grandparents, I feel like they, man, let's just be honest, like they work way harder, physical labor.
Yeah,
When I
yeah,
say like
yeah.
way more physical labor, right? Because they didn't have the tools, to make things easier,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like but we all know, right? Like when you're going through something mentally just as tough, like school or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, right? Like you're applying yourself nothing. It feels just as tiring as it does if you was
Yeah.
going physically, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
come home and then like for myself, like I come home, sit on the couch, and I'm just like watching the TV show. Next thing I know, I wake up. It's like 2 o'clock. I'm like, wow, like I was just that tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it's really interesting.
I mean, hearing those things from other people, like saying like, this is what I did back then. Like you go to like U.S. I mean, what the fuck moments back in my day.
Yeah, back
This
in
is
my
what
day,
we did.
yeah.
But like,
I
I
remember my
mean,
first beer.
it's also it's a good thing to like see those perspective because it makes you appreciate what you have now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you
for sure.
like appreciate like, I mean, but at the same time, innovation is important because you want to be more efficient with your daily life and you tend to do more. Like for example, yeah, you go hike up 12 miles to school and back, but instead of hiking up those 12 miles, you spend more time with family or you do other things with that time and be more productive to become a better person in the
Yeah,
future.
man. I think the battle is just shifted locations. The battle has always been there. We Disney has a fun thing. It's another thing I'm gonna bring up probably in post where if you can actually look at the timeline of Disney movies and see what the world was going through around that time because
Wow.
the values that they displayed for each movie from like look at like Snow White for example
Yeah.
and like
The
if
story
you
goes.
really broke that movie down to a
Kratos.
Moana. Like those movies look like they wouldn't even be made by the same person. I mean,
Yep.
you got one who's just like, "Come save me, sir, please."
All I
Like
need
I
is a
don't know
kiss
you.
by a stranger.
Yo,
Yeah.
what's up? I'm ready. And then you got Moana's just going out doing her own adventure. So
Meeting
you
a
can see
stranger.
where
Yeah.
each
Yeah. That's
one
crazy. Yeah.
are going. And then also with the times, you see that the battle has been different. So because a lot of our generations, our earlier generations, like they had that physicality like challenge. So now they feel like tougher. But if you didn't know that, that's a cycle in itself. Like so, like
Yeah. Be
hard
conscious of
times
the word.
create hard men.
Yeah.
Hard men
Great.
create
Easy times.
easy times.
Yeah.
Easy
Easy
times,
times
great
create
weak
Easy
man.
man.
easy men,
Oh, this is a quote.
and then
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's
easy
true
men
though, right?
create
Like
hard times.
yeah.
But like even if you look at it, like we had the hard time through the industrial age, which changed our school system, which still has not reflected that change to this day, which is something I'll get into right after this. 'Cause I think it's hilarious. And then we have like, because I like to say, you're physical, you're spiritual, and then you're mental.
Yep.
So like we had that, and then we have our weird '70s, '80s where everyone's just like trying drugs to find themselves, acid, like
Yeah. No,
it's just like
Shrooms.
a complete
Shrooms, yep.
Yeah.
a complete cutoff spirituality, right? And then we get into our weird 2000s area where a lot of us kind of
What
grew
about the
up.
'90s though? Right. What
The
about
'90s was a transitional age
Yeah.
when they weren't necessarily, I would say they weren't necessarily as spiritual, but they were moving in technology. Because here's
Yeah.
the thing: if you were born in the '90s, you're older than YouTube, you're older than Google, like you're older than Netflix, and
Yeah.
that sounds crazy to
It does.
people
Yeah.
today.
It does, like, or even like when you had to get the CD to go ahead and load up the internet, remember? And then when the dial-up that,
Yeah.
and then if somebody called and you picked up the phone, you cut off the internet
Yeah.
connection, right?
Like that's why.
Like
I
that's
think
crazy,
it's
right? To think about,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
You're older than Amazon. Amazon was a bookstore in 1998.
Yeah.
Fun fact. And then we get into a different battle. We get into our social medias. Like, it's really hard to explain to one of my grandparents or in their 70s how their grandkid that they're taking over, like what cyberbullying is like. They're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? It's just on the computer? Just
Yeah,
go punch,
yeah.
punch
Yeah.
the computer if you got to.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't just.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. But so it's like you take that war that's been happening. So I say it all the time. People that know me best say I say all my life I had to fight. I
Yeah,
always
yeah.
and it's just different. It's on different
Yeah,
fronts.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
going from that time where I'm talking to my pops. My pops told me straight up, growing up, heavily. He's like, yo, like I I'll teach you how to throw a brick. And I was like, what do you mean throw a brick? It's like, throw a brick, you need a lighter right here lighting up. I said, look, there's a Facebook group. They're talking about my group of friends that hang out under this tree, and I'm trying to figure out, like, they're saying lies, and I don't know how to stop it. That's it. I'm not trying to throw a brick. Damn, man. Y'all soft. Soft. You know what, Dad? Make a Facebook right now. Right now.
Yeah.
Get you 0 likes, and then I think the ease of access, of course, is like changed up. How
instant
easy
gratification.
it is to, like, get that instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like the fact that people are actually afraid to post things if they think it won't get like a lot of likes
and views
is a crazy thing. Just we're constant comparison, because growing up, like, if you were a loser in high school and you was before that 2090s, then you just was a loser in high school. Only people that's why class reunions were so popular.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
like, yo, that's you with the glasses and the slack. That's
my man got the power suit. He got the exotic
right,
car.
Like,
right.
Good now. That's your girl.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So,
like.
No, but that's the interesting thing. Like, is like because of not seeing that, or like having this time to where people didn't see you, right? Like, and for me, I kind of look at it as like, yo, like those hard times, right? Like you said, hard times created you now to be hard. To where like whatever your reasoning is like, yo, I'm stunned on these dudes. Like, yo, see me in 10 years, yo, you give me 10 years to work, right? Like, because I always think about, you remember the 18? Remember when Facey sees Face?
Yeah.
And he comes out, he's like, oh yeah, man, we got this blurry picture. And then he rolls up, he's like, yo, like it was like, I know who to do this. But he was like, right, like you give me like a month, right, I'm good. You give me a year, I'm great. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like the more time in which you have, because right, like you're able to work, you're able to shelter yourself, but now it's like more so like, what is it now, right? Like people don't want to see that transition and stuff like that, right? Like people just want to see like, oh, this dude looks like that, or this chick looks like that, you know what I'm saying? And you can easily get caught up in that, but that's why sometimes you just gotta turn it off and just get to work.
I think the vacuum is a very, very interesting place when people are to develop from. I do appreciate that aspect of the military, that did create a lot of like barriers of like, you can't talk to everybody about this, or you can't post about this, because it kind of helped me like refrain, like, all right, cool, let me operate in this vacuum, what we got. And then on the social aspects of it, like people already think like, I still got people to this day in my family be like, yo, so like, do you have electricity, or like, what's going on down there? And I'm like, yo,
you could Google this. Like, you could Google like exactly. And then, it's crazy that you say that, because like for me too, like where people's like, yo, like like you don't want to see the world or anything like that, or like I'm like, yeah, of course, right? I got my bucket list, but it's a small select few, because like now you have like Google Earth. So legit on Google Earth, you can go anywhere, well, majority of places, and you can drop a pin and you can look around there and be like, yo, I'm right there. Like, wow, but just think about that technology. Like, that is just crazy, right? Like how much technology there is out there, and how much technology do we actually use, right? Wow, that's crazy.
Like GPS, man. Remember just like driving now, you have GPS and then you have a map.
Yeah.
Like just looking over there.
You had to read the map.
North one.
See, but that's the beauty of it, right? Like, or even with that, right? Like, because you didn't have cell phones back then, right? Like if like a party started at 5, you was getting there at 4:30, right? And you knew that you had to leave at a certain amount of time to be there on time, right? Like now it's like, oh, like, what, let me check, let me check this app, right? They're gonna tell me I'll be here. Okay, cool, I can do this, right? Like I don't need to pay attention anymore, right? I can get lost. What was the word that you used? The
disassociation.
Yeah. So I can disassociation right now. I can turn it all off, because I know I'm gonna rely on that, on that technology to get me there. But that's you, man. You
think it's like too much. Like, is that the reason that like think about like right now GPS? I'm stay with GPS.
Yeah.
Like right now, if you just type in like ice cream, how many things are gonna pop up? You think that's where we're at with technology? Is like we got so many different options and choices of stuff that we're just like, we're slowing up because there's so many different available. Like, think how many browsers do you have?
Oh man,
like,
35 upper now.
I got 28 open.
Yeah, I got 35. Yep.
And then that's just on one. That's like on Chrome, and then on Safari, I got another X amount. Firefox got another X amount. I just feel like it's a lot of options, and people get into a stunning variety.
I feel like with virtual reality, we'll be able to travel the world without really traveling at a cheaper price.
Oh man, I'm so excited about that. Nah. Virtual reality. I'm so excited about the general like space of going from a like I think COVID on a positive side as far as the virtuality aspects of it. Yes, people like the person. I prefer this to be person if we did like a Zoom call or something like that. But I think that just showing like like we had people that was talking from across the world. Like I've done a Zoom call with like people in like other countries. And I think that virtual reality piece of it is gonna speak heavily. You know, Facebook starting that new Meta thing. They've already been in the virtual space. They took Oculus Rift a while ago. These cool VR headsets that we'll probably have to play with at another time. But they started it. Like they started social net. Like I play with Christine, play with it. Like there's literal you be there and it's like you look around and it's like you're in a log cabin in the mountains. You're like, oh, like what's going on? And it's getting better. And I think that pretty soon we're gonna like, cause right now you can sell virtual property. You know, fun fact, like real estate, you can sell virtual real estate, like for places that.
Wow.
And the appeal is that you can live anywhere in the world, but it's about who else is living there, and that's kind of like the interesting about it. So like if a big marketplace like Best Buy, they're like, all right, we're gonna stand up a Best Buy digital store in
That's
Germany.
crazy.
I'm like, all right, cool. I'm about to buy me a property in Germany by this Best Buy digital store.
That's crazy.
And then someone puts their VR headset in, and then they can go into the digital store and buy things, actually buy things, and then you get that digital asset because you know what separates right now. Like we have like people think that digital currency and crypto is so ridiculous, but like really, if you think about your credit card, think about the fact that not a lot of people are using cash like talking about. People aren't really using like if your credit card wasn't linked to your bank or if you didn't have the connection, like you don't got money. But you're gonna have connection. You have this asset and you're like, this definitely is worth something. I'm gonna use some of that and like buy it. And we'll have it like they're making rooms into 2K and stuff like that. Like 2K, you can buy like clothes for your little avatar. But like now they're gonna do like you get the actual clothes. Like you buy your avatar some J size whatever. You're getting those J size whatever. But you also have the digital asset that's worth the same thing. Like, and I think that that's gonna really capture. Like, we talking about schools. Like, like going to private school. I'm sending my kid to a private school in New Zealand next year. What? Yeah. They start virtually for the reception on Monday. So I just got the room ready. And I'm excited. You know, he's on a badminton team. He's gonna be messing it up. Virtual. You don't remember the week?
No, you can.
Okay. So for me, with that, I think like everything, right? That's is good and bad. There's checks and balances with everything, right? Because now, like, and we was talking off, but like with that, like, man, I'm already thinking like Ready Player One, right? Like you remember, like you know, you all see everybody, right? Like in the slums, you got the extreme, right? You got the people living in the slums, and then you got the people that live in, you know, the tower and stuff like that. But, and I think that's like, just like everything. It's just yes, of course, it's gonna be good, gonna be great. Be able to connect to, but like what also to are we going to lose, right? What does that look like, right? Because like you said, especially like nowadays kids, like so I talked to a good buddy of mine. He's a baseball high school coach. Shout out to Lane. And I asked him, I was like, yo, bro, like, cause I remember getting ready for games, right? Like, yo, play a song, start getting into the zone of what I gotta do. But he himself, man, I was like, bro, like, how do you deal with teenagers nowadays? He was like, look, honestly, as soon as they hop in the locker room, I gotta put a phone, right? Because now they're so connected, right? That connection or that DM or whatever that text message they may get may allow them to lose focus for that moment in time, right? You see what I'm saying? So like anything is just like, man, like that's just so crazy that we're gonna be able to do that or we're doing that now. It's just you gotta find a sweet balance because once again that is the disconnect, right? Like and I kind of always looked at it to like I never understood why, you know what I'm saying, like you said, like you growing up here, like when my family did get together with Talk Story, right? So they did the same exact thing we doing now. They just didn't have no microphone and an outlet to go ahead and get to, right? But here's everybody like this working class, right? Some of them went to college, some of them right did a trade or a craft, or somebody got into something new, and you know like where did you get that knowledge and information from? Well, I got it around from everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? And that, like I said, that's a good thing. But then also too, the bad thing is that nowadays people don't really know how to, and I always think, use your words. People don't know how to use their words, right? Something so simple that comes off so easy depending on where you're at, right? To like push everything to the side and let's just have a conversation. So even though we may advance like that, like we're starting to lose sight of that, right? We started, you know, like learning how to deal with the JEs. Like, hey, how do I go ahead and connect with them, right? Because it's hard for them, right? Like they can tell you everything through a text message, but like, yo, tell me to my face. Like that holds to me more value, right? That's more of my core belief, more of my core value. Like, yo, tell me to my. But like you said, right? Like that text message, that's to them, that's everything. That's what they want, you know. And it's just like I said, yeah, we just trade offs to everything.
So right now we're thinking about like how it's gonna look in the future, right? What if we're that grandparents that are thinking about the future, and those new generations is gonna think like, oh no, this is awesome, but they don't know that. Say for example, you can go to Washington right away, but you're losing that experience of traveling. Say a road trip, you're going from Washington to Texas or Texas to New York,
Like
but you're losing the
smells.
you're losing the experience of that traveling. Yes, you might be at that exact location, but you're losing some of the aspect of that traveling, which is crazy. So it's crazy to see now, but who knows how I'm gonna feel about it once it's actually there. It might be like he said, it's always gonna be a good and a bad and the up and down of something, you know.
No.
I think that that's important. I think our generation in particular is the prime candidate to advocate for what you're just saying because we got a little of both. Like I said,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
like we
Yeah.
got like the iPhone came out in 2007.
Yep.
Mhm.
I
YouTube
remember the
started
first one.
popping
Yeah.
off in like 2006. Facebook really started popping in 2008. Like
Yep.
we really have the ability to say like, yo, I remember beepers,
Yeah.
but I also remember like when everyone had flip phones, and I remember when
With the razor, with the
Yep.
razor, yo, it was hot. Or like for me, I had the sidekick.
yeah,
Yeah. The
So it's
sidekick
like
was fire.
I think that our generation what we'll do as opposed to the next one is that the next one is so digital, but I think if we just advocate for both, 'cause I think they're
Mhm.
both like I don't think you should replace one with the other.
Yeah.
I think like we shouldn't just be like, yo, we're done with planes because we don't always just go virtual. If you're in Hawaii, sorry about it. Like, that's where you're gonna be. I think that we just need to find that happy medium both. I think they both do sort of serve a certain purpose. I
Yeah.
think that
100%.
especially in times like this where it's like we need to have like certain amount of venues and whatnot. I'm not saying go the the NBA reference when we're like a bunch of screens in an
Yeah.
empty
Yeah.
court or something like
That's
that.
terrible.
But I think that definitely we find some sort of middle ground where it's like, hey, like a quarter of the semester or something like that is virtual,
Yeah.
and this is a time that we're gonna emphasize. We're gonna also do like you should be with loved ones, or you should be with blah blah blah, or you should like we'll give you time to work on trade skills because I think that the way that our education system right now doesn't like go with how we're evolving technology wise because the education system has not changed. Like, yeah, we got computers, but we've kind of always had the newest computers in our classrooms. You know, whether it's those old school Macs,
To play Oregon Trail. To play Oregon Trail. Yo, that's my game.
or like the tablets
paint.
that they have now. Like it's always been like like I don't know. I was raised. My mom in college. My mom like went for a law degree and still joined the military. Did great. Love you, mom. And
Shout out to
I was
Mom.
raised like, hey, like just do good in school, and then do more school, and then worry about your job. Ooh, ducking, ducking. Yeah, and avoid the sirens. Really, like as my mom would say, like, 'cause she grew up, one of seven, one of eight, and my dad's a self-made. Like, my dad left. Like, my dad didn't get kicked out. He left. My grandma would appreciate it and tell her if she was still here to this day. She'll be like, my dad left the house at 15. Like, he's self-made. My dad is the literal. Hey, I did it by myself. Like
Yeah.
I made money. I left my town. I went driving. I didn't know what's going on. While my mom is like, like I stayed. I took care of 7 of us. So even though I didn't leave at that time, like I was always with my nest egg, and then I got out and then had a support system.
Yeah.
So they had two values that they were trying to instill to me from a very young age. And like I've always got told, like at the end of the day, they always just wanted better. It's like
Yeah.
yo, just at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day,
Yeah.
just be better than me, then you can be better than me. But instead of like, I think it's interesting. I'm curious of what we'll do for our next generation. Instead of it being lessons of like, like you should do this. Here's some core things that help me. It's more so like, don't do what I did to get to this point. Do this other thing because this will be a much better life than you. Like I'm gonna buy you. I didn't have that Christmas, but I know friends that every Christmas, every birthday, it was just whatever they wanted, and they just kept going. And me, it was like, all right, I want a PlayStation for Christmas. Next Christmas, I might get another game for it,
Yeah.
and then, oh dang, I need a controller. All right, for my birthday, I want a controller
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
can play with my homies.
Yeah.
And it was just the education system, the way that we did it. I think it's very interesting. What do you guys think about that model of like, hey man, like go to school, get good grades, get a good job. Like, what do you think of that?
I
Is
mean,
that something that's like emphasized?
so I think for me at least, the sometimes sometimes when you're grading something, right? So you are putting the same standard for everyone, but say you're grading a monkey and the fish to swim, who's gonna win? Or you're grading a monkey or a fish to climb the tree, who's gonna win? But every single individual is gonna be different. Are we teaching how to actually survive in the actual world? Like for example, some things I can only think about is changing the oil, like for
Change the
example, for
tire,
like
yeah.
changing tire, filing taxes, investing, things that can make you successful are not being taught in as a what do you call that as a requirement. It's just an option, you know. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
No, like I 100% agree. Like I know for me, at my high school, right? Once again, right? You had like shop, home ec,
Mm-hmm.
like. But for me, we had like a finance class, and it was like, wow, like learning how to balance a checkbook, right? That was a thing, Nowadays, right? We just pull up on the phone, look at a PDF, but yeah, like not teaching like life skills on how to deal with it and how to manage finances. Yeah, I don't think there's a really big movement for that, right? Until you get into that position, right? We talk about it, right? Like I'm not gonna lie, I was that E3. You know what I'm saying? I had a $550 car note. Not gonna lie, like, but it was just right, like because at that point in time, it's like that's what I valued. You know what I'm saying? And like me, as I've gotten older, like where's that happy medium volume look like, right? Like how does it work into me where like I'm setting myself up for retirement, but I'm still enjoying life because at the end of the day, tomorrow is never given, right? But at the same time, sharing now with the youth that I do run into, like, hey man, you got to look at it like this. You should look at it like this. Like it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's not always what you see on the feed or anything like that, right? There's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and I don't think we put enough emphasis on that hard work on what it takes to get there, like, because like for me, and like how you talk about it, like your parents go in and get degrees. To me, I mean, if anything, it would have been like I, I I personally in my mind would think like the standard was like, yo, you gotta come with your masters now. Like moms did it, like yo, hey, and you left the nest and you got your own path. Like okay, cool. You knew you had to do that because pops did it. Like he laid out the foundation, right? So to me, like seeing that, right, like manifest, like help reassure you that you was gonna be okay. But now how do we create generational wealth, right? And I don't think that's a lot of it talked about because once again, right, you need to have like a lot of money to go ahead or a lot of equity to go ahead and invest. And I don't think we put enough time into that, right? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole when you guys were talking about education, I was thinking
Before.
something different. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, not on that stuff,
Oh.
but just like the school system.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work just having a teacher in the front and talking. Like I think it's passive learning, but I'm also in a master's program right now that's trying to get away from the Western type of teaching where they have us students lead it and then the professor's there as a guide. Um, Over the summer, I was in this training thing where we're supposed to talk about the indigenous way of learning, or just being mindful of other. So basically, the directors of this program was telling these professors to be flexible with the homework assignments. Like if a student wants to turn something in video form, for example, if that's what they prefer instead of writing, then why can't they do that?
Yeah.
And then a talk story approach. Instead of just having a teacher talk, you could interact with the students and have them say their stuff, their thoughts on the topic instead of a teacher being there and you just writing notes.
I think so, but for me, I love and appreciate the concept of school, right? Because now, if we just break it down, right, and when we talk about curriculum, like what is a teacher actually supposed to do? Teach. What is it, me as a student I'm supposed to learn? So now, but if we put it into categories, right? A student, that's their job, right? So like I said, I believe in the concept of that, right? You wake up, go to school, whatever, 8, get off at 3 or whatever, right? Like 8, 9 hours, right? So that's giving them that foundation that like, hey, even though you're not getting paid for it though, right? You're going to have to work for the rest of your life, right? So now, which materials we taught, I think that's a very interesting dialect and conversation to have, right? Because it's like, even like within like language and the arts, right? Like learning how to set up sentences, learning how to write. I think if they, once again, right, like going more, because like I said, for me, doing a lot of self-reflection. Luckily, I had a lot of great teachers. Not the greatest school system, but I had a lot of great teachers that were passionate about what they did, and I wasn't able to appreciate it like in the way I do now, right? Like how does that play into it? Because once again, right, like if you once again, like we know if you put a Y to something, that's very important, right? Like, cause like, right, like for me, when I found out that I didn't need chemistry because I wasn't going to college, I was like, you know what, whatever, cool. Let me just sleep. I may take this period. Let me go ahead and get the hour in. Let me chop it up with the homie. Let me talk story. But now that I think about it, I was like, wow, like I took chemistry years later, like, and I struggled. But if I would have paid attention, I would have had a good foundation of understanding on what that is. And now I can be able to apply chemistry through everything which I do because it's closely tied into work, right? Like even like hazmat, right? We deal with that, right? And I'm sure you deal with that too within biology, right? Understanding, right? Same things, but like more focused on so within the why of like why you're doing this. Like this is your job. Your grade is your paycheck. What you're gonna get into it, what you put into it is what you're going to get out. I think we need to really make an emphasis on that. And yeah, college isn't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Especially for myself. That's why, like for me, and I tell people, and if you knew me in high school, and everybody in high school would tell you, like they would never thought I got a degree. But to be able to say, like, hey, look, once again, cliche to say, but it's the truth. If I could do it, anybody could do it, right? Because now, like looking back on why I took college, I just look at it the fact that I was just willing to endure that, whether that be 3 years, 4 years, whatever. You're willing to endure that. Now you open up more opportunities for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I just look at it as like it's a good and a bad as long as you understand your why on why we're doing something.
So one thing I was thinking about, so like she mentioned, it's we're not just teaching the curriculum, but we're also teaching how the students learn. Because like for example, like I said earlier, different people are good at different things, but at the same time, people learn different in different ways.
Different way, yeah.
So, like how they learn, like it's I guess it's a really complicated situation with just the education system.
Kinesthetic, auditory, or reading, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so like
Yes.
there's multiple things that we can change, but what is that sweet spot where everybody learns the necessary things? For example, like you said, you didn't know you didn't gonna need chemistry, but chemistry was taught back in high school. Or the same thing with um, the financial aspect. A lot of people's problems can be fixed by just the simple education of budgeting.
Yep.
And but what is the sweet spot of just learning this everything you're gonna need to learn and learning it on the way that you are actually gonna learn from whoever's teaching.
Yeah. But see, but then once again though, it's like I don't think we can put like onus on them. If anything, it'd be like just how you said, right? You said you gave 5 ways of learning. There we go. Each day, right? You're gonna learn a different way, right? So even though yes, like Tuesday or Wednesday, like you might kill it, but Thursday and Friday. So now here's the portion of learning adversity, right? Because in life is
Or
gonna
a
give
mix
you
of it.
adversity. Or
Like
a mix of
15 minutes visual audio, then you go on the board and you're moving, and then something.
See, right? See,
Right.
no, but it's a balance though, right? It's a balance though too, because once again, it makes you self-aware. Like, hey, look, these are my strong suits, but like everything else, it's okay. It's okay to be weak in one area, because I can practice it. I can practice it and I can bring everything else up around me because now, like we all on point, we all on board, right? So you're making the playing field like even, but once again though, that requires work, right? It's a two-way street, right? I'm presenting you material. You know the expectation. Do you want to go ahead and hop in that car, or just go ahead and go start that walk and take that journey? You know. So yeah.
I just want to say that research shows, to link, research shows that styles of learning are actually marginal and that the most impactful thing for students are, as you said earlier, knowing the why.
Yeah.
So they've done blind studies with different like styles of teaching, and it's not as dynamic as you would think. Like it's not like, oh man, I'm an audio learner, so the way that we did it here, I can't get the concept. Like no, it's down to a why, and then it's really your preference of like just how you would want the information. But the why is the biggest aspect because if you don't have a why to it, it wouldn't matter if you're an audio learner or if you know say yourself like, ah man, I'm a physical, I gotta actually do it. Even random street tests, insert. Even random street tests have that some people will think they're one learning style, and because they have a bias, it might actually be another learning style. Like, and so because of that, like disconnect, there's this research that just says like that the importance of having that impact or why this is impactful to them, or like throwing the hook is more important. Like, hey, today we're gonna learn about history. The reason this matters is because of this. Like having that bluff is what really steals the engagement because that's what it says. Like if you're having information put to you in a way that's not ideal to you, then you'll lose focus. That's what the fear is. But if you have the why it's important, like if I tell you, hey, I'm gonna tell you a speech for the next 5 minutes. At the end of this, you win $1 million if you can recite it. You won't care how I'm presenting that information. You're gonna make it work for you
Exactly.
because you have your why.
Yeah.
But to hit on earlier, the school system, I actually, the industrial system, as soon as we started going into like we're talking post like depression, like not my depression, the Great Depression, similar, but not mine. The reason that the school system went into more of what we know today, like we took away the discipline aspects and then we started adding the learning curve and stuff like that, is because we were actually trying to make more workers. We had a more free spirit. If you look at America through like late 18s and a little bit early 19s, it was more free spirit. It was more aligned with what the 70s were starting to become. Like we have a lot more free spirits, we have a lot more free thinkers. People were being philosophers. If you look at where a lot of our philosophers come from, that's that time period. You get some, of course, in the 19s, of course, but like previously, that was the fire thing to do. You were a philosopher. Oh man, my son's a philosopher, man.
Yeah.
He over here telling me about rocks and rocks, man. This joint is crazy.
Yeah.
But that whole go to school, do good, get a good job was because we wanted to have a worker mentality. Because how else we remand those free thinkers that come from our Renaissance days, that come from that, oh man, let's think outside the box. You have to create that box in a sense. So that line that you end up getting is because if we look at our wartime, and it's because a lot of factors that we had during, especially in America. If you look at history, you can actually go back and like, okay, well, when we were going through war, like when we started looking at women's rights, and then when we started like wanting them in the workforce, like you literally can see, like it wasn't just someone's like, you know what, this is wrong. It was some more things behind it. Yes, it's wrong, like the ability segregation. We have like equality, like those things were pressing issues, but money is also a very strong factor.
Yep.
And so what we had was an industrial age, so we're talking CEOs, and we're talking to the psychology of money, and then how people think about, like the reason that they can give you a raise and then suggest that, hey, I'm gonna give you a raise, I'm also gonna give you 2 weeks vacation next month. Try to take your wife somewhere nice, man.
Oh.
The idea starts as an awe, but it's really spend that extra money I just gave you. Because as people, if we look at, especially in America, we have our low, medium, and a high rating. That medium is gigantic. The gap is gigantic. The entry point is low, but the exit point is also really high. It's because when people get higher means, they just give themselves more things to spend. There's very few people that's like, yo, I'm making 100 extra thousand. I'm just gonna live the same way I would. No, it's like, nah, I need another house that
Yep.
matches my status.
Yep.
I need a car that matches my status. I need to eat. You know, I'm only going to Whole Foods now.
Yep.
Like they increase their level of like, how much they're spending just because of the psychology of money. And free thinkers are the reason that's not cultivated as much in our core value system because like what the fear that what had at least in the industrial age was that the more free thinkers we have, the less people we'd be having willing to come and fill these factory jobs. Because
Yeah.
remember back then, you can be 12 and be working
Yep.
in the factory. Like that's your thing. You're young. You're getting taught how to be like everybody else. You're getting taught that this is the standard, and then you
White
go straight
picket
to the
fence, got the
factory.
family. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You're like this is what you want. You want family. You want you want a kid. You want a dog. And you want a stable job. So people start chasing. Like if we go into, I mean, we're talking about psychology and money for a little bit, but also I'll bleed it into it a little bit. We're talking about to the quad chart. You know, your employees, you have your self-employees, you have your investors, and then you have your big businesses. Like your gigantic quads of
Yep.
people that make money. Us being in the army, we have our employees. We're in that E quad. E and S are quads where you directly give your time for money, and that's when a lot of that the school system is honed at. It's like, hey, you work for me, you do everything I say, and you will be rewarded.
Mhm.
Like you give me your time, and I will pay you off. That's when you get your common 9 to 5s. Then on the other half, we have our investors, we have our big businesses. Like big businesses is like be like the principal. If the principal was not there in school, I would not have noticed. Like
Yeah,
I
exactly,
still
yeah.
had every class that I had to go through. Like you run it, you're at the top, and you're just making it off of what everyone else got worked with.
Yeah.
And then your investors, like your people, is like, yo, here's some money, go make that money double. Like you have your street investors, what I like to say, like my people growing up, you know. And then we have your actual investors, you have your stock market people, but like it's harder, like because of the way that society is, it's harder to cultivate that other side, that free thinking, because you kind of need everybody. Because you can be rich doing anything. Right now, like
Yep.
if you work directly for Elon Musk, you're still an employee. You're a rich employee though.
Yeah.
If you have a self-starter and you start Amazon, like if you're starting it, like yes, you can make a lot of money, but until you get more people to take over, you got managers, and actually even if you do have managers, you gotta check on your managers, you gotta make sure they're doing things. Until the day that you can wake up, it can be whatever time, and your business is still rolling, you're still giving that time for money. It's just changing. That's why I think it's interesting when people get out of the military. They're like, man, I'm gonna start my own business, or I'm gonna do something. I'm like, yeah, I hear you, and I'm with that. Why? Man, I just can't, like, I feel like I'm giving everybody my time. It's like, no, man, you're still giving your time. You're just giving your time to something else.
Yeah.
Like, you're no matter what, until you get to where you need to be, what is your life, what are you aiming for, or passively, you will continue to go through that. But they have nowadays, like, I don't got kids, but one day I was thinking about sending my kid, when I do got them, through, they have entrepreneur, like, style schools and homeschooling, and there's different programs that you can put your kids in that's where the VIPs are putting their kids through. They're not going through just, biology and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
They're going to classes and seeing what sticks. Like I was talking to, I had the fortune of being able to talk to like millionaires when I was in North Carolina, and he said his daughter had not been in school since she was 3, and I was like, wait, what was she doing at 3? He was like, oh, there was like a pre-K where they have different learning styles, and then they try to learn early, and then they'll like set them up like, hey, we advise you go for this or this. Because your daughter has a strength in this, you actually might want to show her this weakness is, because it could develop within the next couple of years. And I just thought that was cool. Talking to kids that take archery and stuff like that, or like people that like I didn't have lacrosse until I went to not North Carolina, but New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is lacrosse? And I learned what lacrosse was.
That's the East Coast thing.
Like so, just these different sports in different areas to have people with free thought, but I think that it's a lot of factors of like how we look at success and what we really want.
Yep.
Even for my kid, like whether they have a degree or not, like I know some people's like, I got a master's, you got a master's.
Not even using it.
You got to get a master's.
Yeah.
I taught the dual military, both masters, and they were like, yeah, our masters aren't really as heavy as we thought. But I know my older brothers in the trades. My younger brother's into e-commerce, and I talk to both of them because they have very different like things. Like my older brother's a welder; he'll be up at 3 o'clock, like on the highways doing fixing roads and whatnot, or getting light poles. My younger brother, he's like he'll be up on a Saturday, all Saturday. He's just setting up orders and creating robots and stuff to make it auto send a little thank you note and whatnot. And I was like, bro, you guys are both working. It's just all about what you're trying to get up to. But I think the education system, at least the traditional one, because even in private school, while they have quality education, like at the end of the day, you still don't get as much freedom when it comes to that entrepreneur stuff. Like if you're like, when's the last time like you see stories about 13-year-old starts business and it makes money? But that's usually when you see it when it's like making money. But like you don't see like parents like, yeah, man. I remember when my kid was 15, they tried to start a business, and it was a good lesson, man. I believed in them, and now they do this, or they learned that, and now they do this. And I think it causes like disparity. Like people really think school is like the end game. I talk to some people, it's like even they get out. What are you gonna do when you get out of the army? I'm going to school, man. What are you gonna take? Still figuring that out, man. When I show up to the school,
So, but then once again, it goes back to that, right? Like your why. Like, why am I doing this? Why that? But like I said, for me, at least, what's beautiful, especially having this conversation, is like we've identified that why, right? We've identified that. Not everybody has, and I always reference it to like the Aguilera the cave, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Aguilera the cave and stuff, where you're laying down. You're seeing, the pictures and stuff on the back. You can see people to the left and your right. Same thing with you sitting in shackles. Then one day you wake up, your shackles ain't there, right? Wander around like, oh man, these peoples are holding up, these figurines, putting on the picture what to see, and then you see a small hole. Instead of going through there, right? Fall down, hit your head here, hit your head there, right? You bump, whatever, and then you get to the end, right? Light starts getting bigger, bigger, and you see the world. So now you come back, and you go to everybody like, hey. Like, I'm gonna undo your shackles, and I want you to see the world. And some people are just like, you know what? No, I'm cool. I'm gonna stay right here. Like why? Like I'm telling you, the world's out there. Like come see it. Like I seen it for myself. And some people come along, and some people don't. And I just, once again, I think that just goes down to like individuality and mindset, right? Like if you had a mindset, like wanting to put yourself out there and go through that, right? Because once again, right, we talk about perseverance, right? We talk about suffering. Well, like I said, like we all know it's there, but how many people are actually willing to take that leap of faith, right? Because once again, like if you don't have that within the people around you, right? Like it's that once again, like society, we're always negative, like oh I can't do that, I'm not good enough for that, right? That's only for select people. Like oh you got to grow up over here, you can't grow up over here and do that, because at the end of the day, that's why I love Outliers, because it's just that one person to show you that there's hope. There's chance, like you get chance, like that optimism, and you need that. And once again, it's just that goes back to mindset. Like being to let you know that you as a person, as an individual, you have so much potential, but you have to do it. Ain't nobody can do it for you. You got to do it. You got to take the chance.
I got a question. So let's go with the what if like scenario. What if they didn't start that school system and still rolled on with that free thinker mindset? What do you think? How do you think our world is gonna be now?
Oh, for me, I got you. Based on the times, if we didn't have the industrial mindset, our economy would be in a much worse place. A lot of our economy recovering was due to us. Remember, because of the times, we also had women working. It was that, like, to change your belief as a society, it has to be very drastic.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to be like, hey, like, remember, and another thing we see in the movie, we talk about the statistics, airmen and stuff like that. Like war was really like, it was like, yo, I don't care what color you are, like we getting messed up over here. Like what's up? Like but blood is red for everybody. Like so, I think that if we didn't have that system, then we would probably be in a worse place. While we would have more free thoughts, I don't think that we would be able to have that militant power that we have amassed over years, because we essentially were producing followers at a strong rate. Like we talk about potential, but the tricky thing about potential is only important once it's realized. Otherwise, it's you'll always have, like we've heard of the it factor, but there's also an if factor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're talking about Chris Brown, we're talking about like we're talking about Bruno Mars. They all have the it factor. They've already shown they can do it. But I know a lot of people in my family that can sing, dance, can act. They just it's a if. It's like if they're willing to try and fail and stumble. And I think that as far as like the education system that we had, if we took that away or we molded it into a more entrepreneur, the other thing that we have to realize is that everybody can't be the boss and then no one's the boss. So we have like it just be a plummet. I think it would be a stalemate. While I do think on a flip we'd have some more interventions. Some things might have popped up even faster, like technology wise, because of competition. And I believe that we get like minds together, we can create some things.
Yeah.
But you know, we can have a factory, like we can have an overall thing for production, but if we don't have no one in the factory, somebody has to do that job. You know what I'm saying? I just personally didn't like it because I know that I'm not average. So for me to be like not raised, but for me to be in environments where it's like, yo, you need to at least do this. You need to try to think about schools as a background or as a fallout. I was like, look, man, everybody else in this classroom said they're going to school. Like, I don't think we all need to go to school.
Yeah.
Like, we were just all in school together. I'm not trying to see these people.
Yeah.
So I personally think it would affect it negatively. But that's just my opinion. And who knows, man? That if factor might factor in, and we might create a whole new thing. It might be a whole new school system, and or trades might become even more apparent, and everyone be like, man, like you don't have a trade, man. You don't know how to weld.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? You don't know how to weld, man? You ain't gonna be nobody.
You know how to build.
You don't know how to build, man.
You
don't know carpentry.
Yeah, which is what I just want to go back to what you said, and you said it was competition. Like truly, like I feel like nowadays that's what we're lacking. Like because we're so instant gratification. Like we're lacking that competition aspect. Like competition, yes, they're like just like being in business, right? There can only be one guy, but at the end of the day, like when you competing against somebody, right? When it's you can say it's you versus them or whatever like that, but at the end of the day, right? It's you versus you. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nobody else, right? I'm in the zone. There's nothing else gonna happen. We're just gonna see at this given point in time who's gonna be better. You know what I'm saying? And competition breeds a lot of good things, and especially too when you're going through competition, right? Like you're able to look and see somebody at their core, right? Because through everything, right? Through everything, you're gonna have that appreciation to where like when you're not competing, right? Like like wow, like that's why we talk about sportsmanship. How sportsmanship is really is a thing, and it doesn't get emphasized enough. Competition and sportsmanship doesn't, because in order to be a great winner too, you gotta learn how to lose. Like you know what I'm saying? You gotta learn how to lose. Everybody's lost, in some way, shape, or form. It may not show it on their record, but maybe in their personal life they've lost, right? And they learn how to appreciate winning, and I don't think that's being harped up on enough, because like especially like in the military, right? Like if you've never competed in any type of sports or whatever, like if you think about boot camp is it teaches you how to be a team, right? Teaches you, gives you ownership in in the aspect of that. Hey, look, I'm gonna be a part of a team, and we got to go ahead and work together to go ahead and reach a common goal, and that's and I get it, once again we going with free thinkers and stuff like that, but that's where like if like you get everybody together, like you can see everybody's strengths, you can see everybody's weaknesses, right? And that's how you build up a team, so I just want to talk about that with competition, because like I don't think it's being harped upon as much, right? We getting ribbons for everything, everybody get a participation trophy.
Everybody gets a participation trophy. I think there are pluses and minuses to that. I think that the idea of the top spot is kind of glorified, because right now, like everyone, if we're talking riches, like I say, yo, my homie's rich, you might think instantly, oh man, he must be a millionaire. But if I make like 500 thou wow, 600 thou wow, I'm still rich. I'm just not what you think. Like first, like, oh man, you're thinking millionaires, billionaires. But like, yo man, that's like top 1, 2, 3. I'm 4. I'm 5. Like, I don't even know who the 5th richest man in the world is. He know who he is though.
Yeah.
He know who he is though. I'm pretty sure he's aware.
Yeah.
So I think that there's nothing wrong with it. We just gotta watch it. There's nothing wrong with highlighting a success. It's just like, hey, like
So, but that's what I'm saying, which is comes from competition, though, right? Which drives, which pushes you, right? Which gives you a why, right? You know what I'm saying? And like once again, like the extremes of everything, right? Like it can go to competition to a point to where like you're just, so self-absorbed that you're gonna smash and stomp and do whatever you gotta go to do. I'm talking about like like just like the competition, right?
Mhm.
Just we all line up like, hey, cool. We're just gonna see who's number one, right? But that to me, like I said, that in itself builds sportsmanship, builds camaraderie. Being able to look at the person to the left and right, like, yo, you willing to go through the same thing that I'm going through? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I know you got my back. I know you got my back because you've been tested just like me. You know what I'm saying? Whether I finish before you or when I finish after you, I know that you got the same mindset into where like, yo, whatever we got to do, I know I'm gonna call up upon you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's powerful.
All right, question.
What you
Just putting a question out there. Do you think everybody has a chance? Do you think everybody has a fair chance in winning in this type of society? So I usually have this conversation with someone, right? So with my girlfriend, I usually have this conversation, and she usually say a lot of people doesn't have the chance because, for example, they have families and they're working two jobs, and um, they're not making enough, and then usually if you go to that job, it might not even like or say you lose one of the jobs, and then you get a different job. It doesn't necessarily have a higher income, or like so you're in that spot right now. Was there's that's why so my question was like, do you think everybody has a fair chance in
In
winning
society.
in this life in this society?
No?
I think you want to say it, huh?
You-
Yeah,
Mom,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what to say though.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
Do
got an
you?
opinion?
Yes or no? Like,
Yeah.
maybe not.
No, you're good.
but I think opportunities are not always available everywhere too.
Everybody,
And we
right?
still have a bunch of problems. I mean,
Based upon money, right?
yeah, but I also depending on where you are, I think, and your upbringing and the environment you're surrounded by. I mean, in Washington State, we have this program, so I did not have a really full high school career because I went to college full time for 2 of my years of high school and graduated with a 2 year degree.
Yeah,
But
good
that's
for
not
you.
something every state has. I
What
think
college?
I went to Everett Community College.
Shout out to
Running
Shout
Start
out.
program. It's a program where high school students can choose to go to college and it'll be all paid for. I didn't like high schools, but I knew I wanted to go to college, so I went early and I paid for everything. My parents didn't have to pay for that, but then they got to watch me walk twice. But not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone. I don't know what it is in Hawaii. Do they have Running Start here?
I mean, I was gonna say, I went to AP and I was doing college courses, but I also didn't want to go to college, so I kind of like I fell off on it when it comes to that. But as far as like opportunity, I don't know, man. I really think we are all at different points in our life, so there is a different level of risk that we can take. But when you said that you're talking family, I was like, then you're not at the same start point. If we're saying same start point, like then we get into nature nurture, like from the neighborhoods on, like it's already proven that the education quality within
In a certain community.
like different communities is different. And if your teacher, like I've dated a teacher, fine teacher. Oh my gosh.
Shout out
I
to the fine team.
shout out to the fine teacher that I've dated.
You
But-
you know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know that EAH, yo.
Yeah, try carrying it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I dated a teacher, and she said that she's heard like, as a teacher, other teachers like, yo, give up on that student, or like, yo, like that student ain't worth the effort, like you're doing too much, or I've been doing this for a long time. So we're talking like pillars of decades of experience. Like they're not all created the same. And then when they tend to be in a rougher neighborhoods, they tend to like have that like pretty much a bias before they come out. So say you do in the back of your head you want to learn school, you think I'm gonna give this a try, but then as soon as you get in there, the way you dress, because who knows, like I wore baggy pants in school not because I thought it was cool, but because I got hand me downs, and like my teachers did not understand that. Only one, my business teacher, who I took business at economics, and then I took a course, all same teacher. I don't know how she got the choir, but she freaking, I took it all, but she was the only one that was just like how come you wear like big clothes? I was like, man, because my mom think I'm gonna grow into my cousin. My cousin like wide, man. Like I'm skinny. I was a buck 20 in high school, man. and it was past the jersey days. I was just wearing big clothes.
So, could we talk about that though, right?
Mhm.
Like, so, but he said about opportunity, and
Mhm.
yes, I truly believe having more money creates more opportunity, right? But regardless, you still have opportunity. It may not be 99 out of 100 or 100 out of 100, and maybe just be one, but sometimes all you need is just that one opportunity, right? And then once again, it goes, like I said, it goes through
Up to the
mindset
person.
up to the person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. Like us as an individual, us as people, like it, you either have it or you either got to find out if you got that what if.
Yeah.
If that's really what you want, you know, because once again, I think once again, like being in that type of being in that type of environment,
Mhm.
that's really not cultivated. You
Right.
know, to be like, hey, you got to be the one. I'm sorry, mom and dad couldn't do it because because we're not able to take that financial risk,
Right.
but we pouring it into you to be that one. To me, like that's why you have the Serena sisters. I mean, the Williams sisters.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why you have a Floyd Mayweather. Like you know what I'm saying? It's just you just everybody has opportunity. Now, which in the level of opportunity, that is yes up for debate because just like you said, right? Like a millionaire, yo, they're instilling this mindset with them at a young age, right? Because now if they coming from a millionaire, everything in which they do is gonna be a millionaire mindset, right? It was like I think I was talking to a financial advisor when they told me about mindsets, right?
Mhm.
And at the time it didn't really it really didn't hit me. Like so like a poor person's mindset, you know what I'm saying? Is be like, look, I'm gonna take a credit card out or say buying a TV is the object, right? I'm gonna buy a TV, right? Poor person would be like, how am I gonna buy that TV? I don't got no money. Let me get a credit card. Swipe the credit card, right? Person in the middle class, right? Let me go ahead and work and save money, right? And then go ahead and buy that TV. So now I'm frugal, right? I'm not in debt to nobody, right? But a rich person's mindset is gonna be like, look, let me go buy gumball machines. Let me go ahead and push them out, right? It costs a gumball machine $50. I know I only got 200 start with. I only need three, four. Let me go ahead and fill it with bags of gumball machines, right?
Right.
So I can go ahead and get my TV, right? So now I've worked up 3 months to get that $1,000 TV. But you know what? Let me take that $1,000. Let me go get some more gumball machines. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like I
Now
said.
the TV's half off.
Yeah. So now TV's half off.
'Cause I wait.
But it just once again though, it's just what is gonna be around that person? Like who's gonna be around them? Who's gonna be that impactful person? That's why when you're talking about schools, right? To me, it's like if we go completely digital or whatever, like you're not gonna be able to have that, right? To have those conversations of where like you can feel somebody having a bad day or having that teacher to be like, hey yo, like what's going on?
Mhm.
Like oh, you catching hand me downs? You know what? I went through that same struggle too. You know what I'm saying? What? No way, teach you did? Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. But then why do you do what you do now? Because I wanted to come show you, glory of the cave, that anybody can make it out. You don't gotta be special. You don't gotta come from a certain background or nothing like that. But you can do it. You know, it's just gonna take a lot of hard work. You know.
Yeah.
I still think it's complicated because if you look at the richest people, they tend to be men and Caucasian. I don't want to put something bad out there. It's just you see it in Forbes, right? The top.
I got
Okay.
you on that.
Here
No,
we go.
you're good. Finish your thought.
Oh.
I got you. I got you though.
I'm just saying that for I think people of color, maybe the women too, it's a bit more difficult because of all the oppression it's still there, or still there. Sorry, I shouldn't.
What about
minimize
Oprah
it.
though? I mean, she's.
Oh, she's doing a good job, but how many people are?
Yeah.
Well,
She's one of the
that's-
top.
Yeah.
No,
She's
we're
on top.
talking into a mindset thing.
Yeah.
If you want to be wealthy and not rich, there's a shift in mindset. You gotta think
Also,
about.
but we were talking about opportunity though.
No, I'm saying as far as opportunity,
Yeah.
I definitely can bring that easily. If we're talking about opportunity, if you give, a person of color, actually, particularly within the black community, if you look at money in the U.S., most money goes through that community. They actually have their hands on the most amount of money.
'Cause
They
they
just
have to.
don't keep it
Yeah.
because the mindset is, they're not buying assets. They're buying, they're buying things to show proof of wealth. They're still on that. Hey, like
Oh.
I have a very nice car, very nice chain.
Grills.
They're not grills. They're still trying to show people. That's the mindset. They're like, I made it out the hood, or I made it out whatever
Yeah,
situation, and I'm wearing my past struggles, freedom, like outward. But as far as like the opportunity, I think that they still get the opportunity. It's just what they do with it. Like if you took can use investments like all day. You took $100 and invested it into a certain index fund, or even like you left it alone at a young age. Over time, that just compound interest. It just does wonders. But as far as like, I don't subscribe to the whole everybody, has the necessarily ability. What I will say is that when you do hit a certain age, I believe that, there's more than 24 hours in a day for the people that will it. I 100% think that, you look at us, and you tell us like, oh man, like you do a task, you do a task, you do a task. If I pay him to do my task, I now have the freedom to do whatever I want in that day. If I pay you, like, hey, I'm gonna give you $10,000 to do everything I need you to do today. Like I have 48 hours in my day. Now I have 72. Now I have 96. So like my opportunities have now just become abundance. I can do so much with my extra time and people, but people don't like. They just don't think like that.
Mindset.
But as far as like mindset, they're still working with a 24, and then we subtract sleep. Like good sleep. I mean, we're not talking like what actually happens, like freaking waking up in the middle of the night. Subtract sleep. We subtract the 9 to 5. We subtract the time that to get to and from work and to eat and shower. We're only working with like 4 or 5 hours that people don't give to themselves.
Yeah.
People don't. They don't.
People don't give them
they'll sit
themselves.
there. They don't. They don't pay themselves back. And if you don't pay yourself, like, then you won't be able to handle big money because you'll think that when you get big money, like, oh man, I gotta start paying myself in this way. But there's so many different ways to give yourself time and set yourself apart. Now, as far as like how, like, I don't think that the ability to hustle is unique to a certain color. I personally don't think that. I think that the hustle that's been done, yes, for sure. I think that when we look at rich people, there are actually very rich people of color.
Yeah.
But another thing that happens in the community, we're talking to our deep, for as a black dude, into our deep Afro communities, we have people that still take advantage of their old neighborhoods. They'll still, put a liquor store in in an impoverished neighborhood because they know they'll make revenue off of that. Yeah, they made it, but they're still trapping the people
Yeah,
within
they
their
are.
own people. And they're not going. There are people that go back and they give back to the community. They'll open a rec center. They'll give them other things to do because that's another thing that happens. It's like, what are you surrounded by? What do you have time to do? Like outside, before I got to this island, when I was still in Virginia Beach, like we had like our house got broken into. Like I'm saying, like I was 7 years old. Heard a big bang. Both doors were locked. I had like a Jack and Jill style room, and
That's scary.
both doors were locked. And like I opened the door, and the front door was busted down, and my pops was on the ground. And like when we talked about like opportunity, like I didn't know what pools were. I didn't know, like I knew walking to the store, but like I didn't know like how I'm gonna get this money to sustain. So as far as like an environment, like I wouldn't have known. You don't know what you don't know. It wasn't until I legitly looked at someone and was like, I want what you got, that I was like, okay, let me change up what I'm going on. The reason I stopped doing school is because I talked to someone who didn't have schooling and they were at a place that I wanted to be at. And whether that be, as I said before, like how people squander their money, whether that be a bunch of chains that show proof of wealth, because no matter what, we're talking like first time appearances, when you walk into a room, if you've had like a certain way that you dress, or like whether you underdress or overdress, like as I've seen women that's like, man, did I dress too skimpy today for this event? But I've also seen dudes that's like, dang man, I could have dressed it up, I could have shaved, I could have got a haircut, stuff like that. So appearances start to matter, and they shape up how we look at it. But as far as like, I don't think I just can't subscribe. And I know I'm saying that as my phrase for this episode. I just can't subscribe to saying that the opportunity is that big of a difference. But I think that it's all about teachers. Because here's the thing: like we're the next generation. So if you want to teach your next generation, or even like people next to you, like I tell my little cousin all the time, he sees the Tesla, he sees my friends, he sees who's in and out of the house. He saw just all the things I got. I got a PS5, I got Mac. Like I'm chilling. He'll see that, right? He'll see that, and he'll be like, "Yo, man, what you doing?" I'll be like, "Nah, man. Like I'm trying to make systems, man. I'm trying to figure out how I can be one person who operates as though he's 7 people, and it's not me working every day. It's me figuring out, okay, well, if I, put a camera here and I record off of that and I have this subscribing, how much time am I going to save? Because I realize that, remember, as far as the pay quads, trading time for money. Okay, if time equals money because of where I'm at in life, how do I get more time? But I feel like opportunity wise, because even though we do have business, a lot, I've seen business, I've seen home ec as, electives. I think that it's very possible for someone to freaking get into the opportunity. They just gotta either hear or meet the right person. It doesn't have to be someone that's them. Doesn't have to be a clone. Like when I met my first millionaire dude, he was white. When I met a second millionaire dude, he was Hispanic. I met a black millionaire couple. They were both millionaires. One man became a millionaire, retired, and helped the other one get to a million. Like I talk to people that's like, yo, and I was like, what happened? It's like, I just had hunger. And then I think everyone experiences that. Like you go through your phase when you're like, I think this is what I want, and then it turns out to sometimes not be what you want. So I think that everyone has those moments where like it's possible. Even Warren Buffett said like everybody can be a millionaire about 65. Ain't nobody trying to do that though.
Yeah.
So but that's the thing. Like I think the opportunity is there. It's just people want different goals. Like someone wants to be a millionaire by 30, but they're not working like that.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah.
like, dang man, I gotta sell some drugs and I'm gonna be a stripper and I'm gonna do all these extra
Sell my
things.
kidney.
Yeah, kidney and plasma. But I think that as a baseline, I think that everyone can get it. Is it like if you told me, X amount is the richest black person in the world, or this person is the richest Hispanic, I'm not gonna be like confused or like shocked because I know it's just possible. I know it's
I know
possible.
it's possible. Yeah.
It's just other people like really having that work ethic. So I think that people give up on themselves, so they still have the opportunity.
They have that confirmation bias,
They
right?
just don't think it's possible, man. They like she's gonna go to Tahiti and be a gigantic big figure in the dance world. I know it's possible, so I'm just waiting for her to do it. So I'll be like, yo, I know that's my friend right there. That's my friend. I'm being proud, but I have high faith in people.
No battery.
That's fine. It's
Oh,
just a
okay.
count.
No, I surely agree with what you're trying to say, and like the opportunity is definitely available for everyone, especially with the technology. It's coming back to how what we were talking about earlier. The technology we have now, it gives everyone opportunity. Google, like all this, like you used to have to go to the library, and now instead of going and reading a book, it's still there, but you also have search engines out there, and information is out there. Is what it's your mindset to start and go ahead and look for that what you're looking for.
Yeah,
And
know it's not fake.
yeah,
It's all
definitely. I mean,
published stuff that's just
it's just like the only thing I can think of though, like a lot of things I'm hearing nowadays is a lot of people try to make money off of others, like pretty much putting other people down and bringing yourself up. So I always had like a talk with my girlfriend about it. Like, so a lot of the billionaires pretty much like takes a lot of things from a lot of people so they can put themselves. Oh, just like you said earlier, this person's gonna build a business of put an alcohol store here, and is gonna trap a lot of people, so they're gonna stay in that community. So it's kind of like an example, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out like I think yes, there's a lot of opportunity out there as long as you have a good reason to not put other people down. Because in my mindset, yes, I want to get up to that point, a higher level, while bringing other people with me to
Yeah.
that level. You know?
I think it goes down to there's two ways to be the tallest building in town. Two different ways to be the tallest building in a town. The first one is to build the tallest building, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is to tear down the tallest building. Right? And a lot of people subscribe to the faster way, which is destruction. Because creating something it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
create something that's going to grow and have more people and build up that community. That's hard. That's quality time. It takes a lot of effort. And I meant to ask this, and that's my bad for going, but we can go around the room, but like I like to know if you guys like what do you guys think about the opportunity, not just for people, like for yourself. Do you think that you had plenty of opportunity or enough opportunity to grow up, or did you fumble the bag at certain points like me? honestly speaking, where I'm at currently, I could have been at 5 years ago. If I look at it, even like my opinion of school, like I think that added up. I think that I hated school and it wasn't time for me to be school. But then when I started school, it was such a breeze because of the way I thought. I think that just while the opportunity was there, I wouldn't I would have fumbled the bag. Like I would have
Yeah.
wasted that opportunity. So
Mhm.
I'm saying like purposeful opportunity. I think like growing up, like my dad taught me how to drive when I was 12. Like
Yeah.
he gave me
Got you.
my
Same here.
my,
Standard.
my
Yeah.
dad my dad got me a stand. He taught me how to drive when I was 12.
It's a perishable skill, by the
my,
way.
my
Everybody should learn how to drive standard. To be honest, everybody. If you can drive standard, you can drive anything.
You
Right?
really
I'm sorry to
can.
cut you off.
No, you're good. I subscribe to that too. I think everyone should learn on that first. A lot of my OGs, they learned on that first. But I think that even going back, like people get surprised when they look at me today and they're like, "Oh man, finance, like that must have been something growing up." It's like, yeah, I mean, my mom put the seed there, but I watered it later. It was like it was one of those things where like I got my credit card when I was 8 years old. I got my cell phone when I was 10 years old. Like my first ever, like I look at USAA and there's like you've been a member since 2001,
Wow.
and I was like, oh man, and then like it's just interesting things for that. But like
Shout out to USAA. We are all armed service members. So if you want to go ahead and answer that.
We're
Give
not
me
USA,
so
hey.
much. I am.
cheaper
I had
insurance
USA too.
would be great. You guys are patting my pockets before these holiday seasons. But just growing up, I think that my dad tried to talk to me. He wasn't a physical person. Like my mom believes you can learn something in your coma, but like my dad was like try to talk to me first, try to break it down, and I wasn't there. I couldn't receive him properly. Like I think back on our talks growing up
Okay.
now, I'm like, man, he was dropping jewels.
Dude,
Like my dad was just sitting
yo,
here.
nuggets of life, yo.
He's like, you
Yeah.
know whose son you are? Like he fucked me up, man. He's like, I came from nothing, man. Let me show you, you got that drive in you.
See what
And
I'm
like,
saying?
it's crazy, but like I always like, man, I don't see it. Like I'm not you. Like I'm not trying to leave the house in the next
Well,
5 years.
See it, but feel it though, right?
Mhm.
Because like you said, it wasn't there, right? That's so important. So, but so after we answer that though, before I lose that thought though too, I just want to go into like how after that the next question would be how important is it to have a mentor going up in that though? I'm just saying after that. So
I think
so that we don't lose track of you know what I'm saying? Because
no. We
that's
still,
a very great
we'll still
yeah.
get to that. I think the importance of a mentor is what separates your dream from a goal. I think once you have your dream, it's something that you like. Oh, I would like to do that one day, and you see that mentor, you see somebody walking in what you would like to do. I think that's a game changer. Fun fact about me: like the first time I was in a Tesla was 2015, and I sat in it, and I was like, I'm gonna have this.
Yeah.
And the sitting in that is what solidified that for me because before it was just like, oh, I'd like that car. That car would be cool for me.
Yeah.
And I sat in it, I test drove it, and I was like, nah, I want this. I want this car. And then I just worked towards it. And then talking to people that's like, I talk to, and I'd use that for everybody. I find, cause I think you can have multiple mentors in different areas
Absolutely
that you want
agree
to
with
grow.
Yeah.
I talked to a happy couple, and I was like, yo, man, you guys seem so happy. Like, how are you doing this? I talked to NCOs. I was like, yo, how do you balance this and become such a dedicated? Like, you give me these soldiers all your time. Like, does your wife like how does that work? And then like listening to how they've been able to work it out and what they've been pursuing, how they still keep in touch with their kids. Like, kids grow up so fast, but people have the deployment cycle come back and their kids like a whole grown adult saying full sentences and like liking a whole new favorite food. Like one of my soldiers, like I went to Afghanistan and she hated eggs. Now she can't stop eating eggs. Man. I don't understand it. But like I think it's very important. I think that helps you like get your goalposts. Otherwise you're just swinging in that vacuum, right? Or once you get that mentor, once you see that someone's done it before, and you're like, oh man, they did it. I start to see like some of their mentality behind it. And I see how they think about money, how would they react, and then I think that it definitely helps you shape that. That's my opinion. I have real life mentors that I've met. I have like fictional. Like I personally think Denzel Washington is a very strong. Like he speaks with conviction. And so
Him and what's his voice
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that they
Morgan
speak
Freeman. Yeah.
spoke to me as someone who gets compliments on their voice. Like So looking into them and like their confidence and then like how they smile and joy and they just feel so like natural when they talk and they're in the place they feel like yeah I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't an accident and I
Yeah.
thought that that was just such a cool thing. So studying the other things, you know, like I'm not trying to be an actor, but like when I listen to them, if that motherfucker was like, you can be an actor, I'd be like, I guess I'm gonna start acting. Yeah. Guess I'm gonna start. All right, Denzel, training day 2. Let's go. His son. Like, but I think that if anyone wants to give that a swing about the importance of a mentor or
No,
a
no, no.
mentor,
But before that was if you ever wasted an opportunity or you felt, yeah.
I definitely have. Like, I definitely have wasted opportunities. Like, an example, um, USAA, right? All right, shout out USAA. But
USAA.
so they called me when I was 18, 19. Like, oh, do you want to start investing into an index fund? Me being young, and I just started working, and I just my first job, my first money. I didn't know what to do with it, until I had a financial advisor that talked to me about the future, that what I could have and where he is now. So like seeing, so it's kind of like touching in both. Like, I've wasted an opportunity, but I had a mentor that told me the possibilities of what I could do with just as simple as investing. It's not really simple, but
No,
simply putting something $50 a month, compound interest, future, the amount of money you can get, and then just keep putting in more and more and more.
Know about it at that time, right? I read books. I had to find that information on my own. I read books on finance, and that's how I learned that index funds typically go up. If you look at it from a
Well, so
couple
but I think he said it though. He did know, but I think because you didn't.
got a mentor.
Yeah.
Well, no, but like Bruce Lee said it, right? Knowing is half, right?
yeah.
You must apply, right? And I think because you didn't see the application at the time, right? How important the application was.
So the
That's why
why,
you didn't do it.
the
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm doing it, or
Yeah.
the why I should do it, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know like, so yeah, I had that opportunity right then and there. Yes, I know, like, investing is important, but like, my mindset then is also, I think one more thing is my mindset then, like, why do I care about the future? Why I should care about now? Like,
That
like,
current
I'm
time,
living
yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
like,
The
why don't
full
I just
forms, yeah, the
I just
bare
use my
minimum.
money right now. Like, like, why not? Like, I have that money in my bank account. I didn't know anything about inflation. Like, yeah, I know some parts of the investing portion of it and having money in the future, but I didn't know all the things, the variables that goes into that. Inflation goes in there. Like my money sitting in my checking account, I'm just losing money because of the inflation. Um, Little things like the compound interest. Like, yeah, I know investing, but I was thinking, like, $50 a month, I get $100 next month, I have $150 3 months from now. No, it's growing more because you're putting more, and it's just getting reinvested. So like, I know some things, but I don't really know the full picture. So kind of like when that mentor came in and explained to me, like, this is where I'm now, this is what I'm doing, just seeing where he's at and explaining the actual, pretty much the end game, kind of like pull me, like, you know what, I need to start doing more, like catching up. So the opportunity, instead of like being kind of like better, I'm catching up to the people that have done it earlier.
Wasted opportunities. I wasted an opportunity, but because I had a bigger opportunity.
Yeah.
Won a scholarship, rejected it because my graduate assistantship pays more, and it would look good on my resume if I worked that job. So I rejected the scholarship because I can't have both. It's either you get this graduate assistantship or you get the scholarship. That's my
I think that's a great place to have, and I think I just want to say thankful for sharing that because, like most of us, like once we know of it, like we didn't take full advantage of the opportunity, right? And I don't mean like advantage like using it, but like the ability to have that mindset that young, and that early on to like, yo, let me weigh them out. I got left, I got right. This one seems now more better for me, but this one's gonna win in the long run. So I think that's great to have that, like,
Yeah.
especially at that.
I saw it as more money, and I'm also working, so it counts on my resume as a job too.
Yeah. See, but then once again though, right? Like, I'm just saying, like if you just dissect that, right? Like most people would have been like, yo, I still gotta work. But this one, you tell me right now, like it's that instant, like I don't gotta do that. Like you know what I'm saying?
Skills.
Yeah, the skills. Like I'm gonna take the easy one, right? Like we
Yeah.
always want to take the easy one, you know. But it's so important to go through that. Huh?
Would you
The
say
job I
that?
chose was a crisis hotline. I worked for the crisis
Oh,
hotline
nice.
here at Hawaii. Yeah.
Would you say that? Who would be big mentors in your life? Then would you say it would be your
Um,
parents? Then?
multiple. I mean, I have a mentor back home in Washington. She actually visited me. She stopped by. That's the one person that visited. I just had a short talk with her when she was in Hawaii. She
Alright.
left.
Come
Shout out
back.
to the mentor.
Shout
Yeah,
out
come
to you.
back. Cause you're a social worker. You gave me more advice when I get inside. And then of course my professor. Thank you for mentoring me on my thesis. And then um, I did the mentorship program at my school, so I got partnered with a lawyer and learned a lot about the issues here, which was a different perspective, and it made me consider law school. Honestly.
You consider acting, right?
That's dope. I don't know. I was just saying because we were just seeing what was playing a part into. Remember, like we were talking about how we squander some of our opportunities. So for you to take an opportunity, like yo, I have two different ones, but this one is gonna help me more so in the future. I was just curious who kind of helped you with that mindset. Like, you say you have multiple. You've been fortunate to have multiple different people, and even enter a program like if you told me mentorship program when I was 17, 18, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk to no one. Like, I don't care what you're
Yeah.
doing. Like, I got this. I'm gonna do it my way. And it's just the way that I seen the world.
Yeah.
Like, remember, like, when I said when I joined, like, I really wanted to get out and see the world. I felt like island fever, like, growing up on here and only seeing the same people, having that routine, being the king of the pond. But once I got a little bit self-aware, that I was like,
The
in a
prom
pond.
king? Oh, I think you said prom king.
No,
Being
I
the
didn't go
king
to
of the
prom. I
prom.
was losing from the
King
prom.
of prom.
I went to the after party.
I didn't go to that.
Went to that Raja.
Yeah.
And I was curious, I think that's
I'm
awesome.
curious too. I'm
You
curious
know.
too. Like, who's
Mhm.
that? Like, who helped like put you or who helped you out there in
Mhm.
that part?
Because
Yeah.
definitely not a lot of people takes that risk of wasting an opportunity for a bigger opportunity because they think like yeah I should grab every opportunity I get, but sometimes there's a bigger opportunity out there, and sometimes risk is a factor of being successful.
And people are very judgmental of your choices because when I chose to go to college early, I've had people say, you're going to lose the high school experience, but I don't regret any of that.
Yeah. That's dope though. That's dope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't experience high school either.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
from
with you.
skipping.
Well, I did. I got my diploma, but I graduated. I had 2 graduations in 2 weeks. It was high school on that Friday, then the next Friday was college. So I walked twice.
I'm just saying, like, I was just never in school.
Yeah.
So I was just never in school, so I also missed my high school experience. Well, the scholarly aspects of it. What about you?
So for me, the one that really comes to mind is so my mom and my stepdad, they actually gave me the opportunity to go to a private high school. Yeah, so I could have went out to a school called Notre Dame from Riverside, California. I actually had a buddy who lived up the road. He went there, and yeah, so I went for summer school because they made summer school mandatory, and it was like Catholic school. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but once again, going for the education, right?
Yeah.
Because statistically speaking, they had over 90% of the kids go to college afterwards, right? So I go to summer school, and I'm just like, they don't recognize me because once again, right next to that, they had an elementary school, which is the feeder school into that. So and I felt that, walking into the spot, I mean, it was diversity of kids, you know what I'm saying, but predominantly still, white or what would we say, Anglo say, whatever. It was just white, okay. And we had some Asians and stuff, and then I get there and just, once again, for me, I guess that was me. Like I felt like I was just I was that public school kid,
Did you have to wear uniform?
We had to wear a uniform.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was khakis. Me, I wore Dickies. I got in trouble, but I wore a polo. You had to wear a polo shirt. But now thinking back, I'm like,
Tucked
man,
in?
yeah, tucked in, tucked in. So yeah, so like that first 2 weeks, man, I went, and it was just so foreign to me, cause like I said, for me, and I'm like you, like I didn't go to school. I was smart enough to know, like you grade on the curve, yo, easy money, easy money. All I gotta do is ace the test. I don't do no homework. I don't show up no participation points. You put me at a C. I'm cool with a C.
Yeah.
So when I was going there, and because it was in Riverside and I lived in Moreno Valley, it was about a 45-minute drive. Um, Man, my experience was terrible, terrible. Like I would finish like the math, and like for me, like you said being in public school, like you used to share that junk, right? Like, hey, you finished first, hey, pass the paper. Everybody getting. So I remember it was just a lot easy to sit next to me, and I was like, hey, bro, here you go, man, I'm done. You can copy off of mine. Like he looked at me like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, like, do you not know who my mom and dad are? Like, I can't do that, right? But I do remember this. Remember this Holly girl, like she was so nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like she was so nice to me and stuff like that. And like some of the other teachers kind of noticed it, and then kind of like I would get called out about it, like more like they would always ask me, you know what I'm saying, like these questions or whatever, like more like I guess just to see where I'm at with the information and stuff. Because like I said, very very smart, and I just knew when I applied myself to the educational system, oh easy money, because it's like you telling me like you want me to take a test and you give me all the answers? Like that's easy. That's easy for me. So, but then, by that second week, like I said, I just went to my mom and I was like, "Yo, mom, I can't do this. Like, these like they're so different here. Like this, the culture, the vibe, everything is so different. Like everybody's like they you had the jocks, you know what I'm saying? You got the smart kids, you got the in betweeners, everything. Even though for me, like I went up and talked to everybody, right? Like jocks trying to recruit me to go play sports and stuff like that, but I just didn't do it, and honestly, it's one of those things. Like I know now as a parent going into it, there's just some things that you just can't. They gotta be unwavering. You know what I'm saying? I think especially like as raising kids and learning that like there's some things to where like if you've created an opportunity, like no matter what, even if you hate it, like they're going to get it later down the road. Because now I get it now down later down the road. It's like dang, I could have went to college. I could have got my degree at 22. You know what I'm saying? I got it when I was 26. I'm sorry, I got it when I was 28. But I could have got it there sooner. Like I could have been an officer going into the military. I could have made more money now up front going into the military, being a manager, than as opposed to being a knuckle dragger. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know me and my type of work ethic is I'm a knuckle dragger, but that's definitely one of those things. I talked to my mom, and like I said, a lot of self reflection during that time of like even like it didn't happen, to go back now to tell my parents like, hey, I love you guys and I appreciate what you guys have done for me. Thank you for allowing me to make that decision. Stupid decision, wasted opportunity, but thank you for giving me and having that insight to give me that opportunity, and allow me to make those decisions, at that time, because now I've learned an appreciation of it, right? Like, so.
Do you think that appreciation came post kid? Like after you had you say parent, like after the kid? Did
Oh
you
no
get
no no!
that?
So I'm not a father.
Oh.
Yeah. So my baby, she's parked outside, but it's that car joke. But that appreciation came because like a lot of stuff was like. So what ended up happening was I moved down here in 2012. Got out of active duty. Um, um, got a chance to live with my pops and stuff like that. We'll make a long story short. We can get into the details. Anyways, I was homeless for like 2 months. So I was going to drill. For 2 months, homeless, living out of the back of my Evo. I worked full time, and then I went to school full time. But the primary reason, half of the reason why I moved out here was I was going to get my degree. Like I just made up in my mind. I was like, look, ain't nobody hiring me. Nobody want to pick me up because I don't got no college paper or whatever like that. Whatever. I came out the Air Force. I thought hottest thing since shoestrings. And I made that my mission. So when I was sitting one night in my car, I just reflected. I was like, you know what? I know my mom. My mom loves me, and my dad. Me and my dad have a great relationship now. Even my stepmom, I love my mom. I love all my parents. I'm very blessed. Like I said, very blessed, very appreciated. But during that time, that self reflection, were like, yo, and shout out to Eric Thomas too. Eric Thomas, he really helped me, man. Was like, like he said it. He said it best. Your situation and your circumstances may be now, but they're not forever. So I thought about that, and I was like, man, and this was before they moved all the homeless and kicked them out the west side. So by Coast Guard, like nobody was hanging out over there, so I would sleep right there. I'd come from the gym, already showered and stuff like that, so I would just sleep right there reflecting. And I was like, you know what, this sucks. And then I started to go down that rabbit hole. So I was like, you know what, I can go back home, go back to Cali. I have money, I can sell my car. I'll be back around family. You know, they're gonna take care of me. I know I can live with this person. I can live with this person. I can live with this person. And then, like I said, just hearing ET and just having that epiphany, we're like, you know what? Like, nah, fuck that. That's too easy. That's too easy. And I was just like, you know what? I was able to logic it out. I said, you know what? I got a full time job.
Right.
Going to school full time, so I'm getting E5 pay, right? I was like, and I'm doing good at drill. Like I'm getting this army experience, like the experience I've always wanted. I said, you know what? I asked myself that. How dope would it be, right? None of them knew what I was going on. Like I avoided talking to my mom for the whole 2 months. Like she read, like I just let it ring. Like it was kind of bad. And sorry, mom, for putting you through that. I apologize all the time about that, but I asked myself that. How dope and how great would it be to say, hey, look, I suffered this, and I knew you guys would go ahead and help me because to me, I look at it, that's by default. They love me by default. And they would have gone back, I would have gone back and they would have reasoned why and told me everything I wanted to hear, like you tried, you gave it your best shot, and I was like, yo, I don't need that. I needed to look at what I had right there, that God is putting me in this position, in this situation for a reason. Let me get something out of this, right? I got about 2.5 years left. Let me see what this final product in this end game can look like. And then, man, just going back and telling everybody, like they were shocked. They was like, "What is this homeless? We didn't hear from you." And I was like, like, hey, man, but it helped me mold into the appreciation and the love in which I have now for everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that really put a lot of things into perspective for me. So.
Oh, that's dope. That is so freaking dope right there. I mean, I appreciate you sharing that story. At least from the come up as far as like opportunities and how you treat it. And just for the listeners out there, just so we know, it's not limited just to an employment style. Like I've definitely fumbled the bag, so to speak, in a relationship. I fumbled the bag, and just like not just romantic but interpersonal. There's been times where I should have called someone, wished them a happy birthday, or I should have reached out and I just didn't. I was like, yo, it'll be straight. Or opportunity where someone was ready to move to another level of commitment and I was just not there yet. And I was like, yeah, but then looking past, like the next year I would squander it, for fruitless relationships or fruitless encounters or whatnot. So there's no that as far as like the different bags that we can get into, the different like ways that we can fill each other up, the different like ways that we can identify ourselves as successful. It's possible to miss the opportunity. However, what I want to highlight is that you are not the sum of all your failures. Like
Yeah.
you're not like obviously like everything that's happened to you like in life to include your resiliency has helped to create what you are presently, but you are not your failures incarnate. That's not what you are. So the fact that you missed the bag at x age, or even if you did it like last week, that doesn't mean that you are a failure. Because I think that we move as society to a strong phase of what have you done for me lately.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a dangerous mindset to have, and that's why people are afraid to, take risks. They're afraid to mess up, and really, life is about, not be pessimistic as I tend to be, but life is about taking risks. There's one way out. I don't know why people think they're gonna live forever. It's like
So,
you have a way out.
so and I'm sorry to cut you off though, but once again we use that word pessimistic. But do you think it's like pessimistic or you're being realistic? Right?
Look,
I mean, just
yeah, I was about to say it depends on on who's trying to punch or whatnot.
And the
Because
situation.
in a situation, because it like I'm not staying in negative, but I do think we need to throw that into it. I think that the positive of it would be talking about while life can be risky, like you can get a lot of things. Like marriage is risky. Like honestly, just walking to yourself before the law and saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay with this person," and we just gonna get through whatever happens to us. I think that's a to me that's a risky thing to do, and that I think that is something that when done right, or when done in a way that it can have some of the greatest results ever. And so like looking at that from afar, that's a risk that I will take one day. Like so I think that there definitely is positive and whole what have we done, what have you done for me lately, or like how have you been, or like hey, we remember when you messed up, but we don't remember when you're doing good. I think that is definitely playing into the psyche of people
Yeah.
currently. And I just want to emphasize that because we're talking about missed opportunities. And yeah, it's possible you can't see it all, you won't catch it all. And if you're not ready for it, I still say like test that out. Getting back to that if factor, because it might just be your time. Like I don't know why people think they're gonna record a video. Their first YouTube video is gonna be the viral one. I think
Yep.
you gotta have that mindset. You gotta not be prepared to fail and just grow, and then the opportunities will come. It's I mean they say in Hollywood you only get one, but I don't think that's correct. I don't think there's no such thing as overnight success. I think that's just when we saw them. Like the baby, very controversial rapper right now, but the baby has been making music for over a decade, and we're just now hearing his music. Like because he's putting in that work and then finally caught his little break from his little situation and he got put on for his music.
Yeah.
But that's just my 2 cents, my 2 pennies on it. But you got anything?
So what I got from that is no matter what the situation is, keep trying, risking. What you were saying was, is it pessimistic or is it realistic? Maybe in some minds it's pessimistic, but like, because somebody could say, "Hey, man, you're a very pessimistic person," but that's their view of you. You know yourself what's real and what you can and what you can't do. So your to yourself is realistic because you know what you're capable of. You know that, for example, if I go ahead and swim right now, I'm definitely gonna fail. Like I'm, like I'm probably gonna die. As I'm just
That's
being,
true. It's all
but
technique, baby.
yeah, but the thing with it is like somebody's gonna view you as pessimistic, but don't let that person affect what they like. Don't let anyone saying that, hey, don't be negative and anything like that. No, I'm just being realistic, and
Yeah.
don't let that attitude or that behavior affect you, and just keep rolling on and do what you gotta do, until you reach that goal. And then once you reach that goal, maybe you have another goal, or like maybe you have multiple goals that you're trying to reach, until you have that end state that you're comfortable. And I feel like even if you're comfortable, still have that drive, because once you're comfortable,
You look like this.
you're done. You're done. Like,
No, hey man, that's true. No, that's true though, because like you said, hunger, man, that's hunger. Because I remember like I said, like I remember like not having all none of that. So I was like eating, like living off of protein shakes. I had like 5 protein shakes a day. I would go ahead and get like one hard meal. That was at lunch, because I used to work in one part of industrial, so there was a spot and stuff like that. But I just remember I was like, dang, I know I told you, I shared with you. I was like, you know what, hey, as soon as I get some money, I ain't ever been hungry again. Like, like, hey, I'm gonna indulge. But that fine balance, though, you know what I'm saying? That fine balance, because, like you said, now that I have money, right, what am I doing with it, right? And like I said, I'm still learning that too. Like, but man, that's just so crazy. Like, it's so crazy, but so important. Like, man, you just gotta be hungry at what you do. Like, when you hungry, like, man, that you got tenacity. You're just ferocious. Like, ain't nothing, nobody ever gonna stand in my way. Like, and that's dope, man. That's dope to hear.
I'm always looking for opportunities to grow in areas that's lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of that I felt, I've let go of what people would consider opportunities, relationships too, that I didn't think was really benefiting, where we weren't benefiting each other, or I was putting in more than the other person, because I saw better opportunities in my future, if that makes sense.
No, I think that.
Short.
No, that's your piece, man. I think that's an important part aspect, growing up and then looking, because there are some people that are great for where you're at in life. So if you were to stay stagnant, they'd probably be perfect for you. But as a lifelong grower as well, like I believe that some of the people that I dated, like I'm not gonna say last year, but like some of the people that I dated within the last like decade, or the people that I dated in high school, like that mindset, like who knows where they're at today, but like that mindset that we were at back then, that wouldn't rock with me currently. Like I remember talking to someone who was like, I would never join the army, and they were perfectly okay with staying on this beautiful island for the rest of our lives, and then I joined the army and was like, can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry about it. I'm trying to get
Shoes
out.
then. Shoes then.
And then so I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's important for you to recognize. I think that's a high level of
It's sad.
self-awareness.
I still feel sad.
No, so see,
When
but
I
why
let go
though?
of relationship, because I'm more in the. I think of the. It's okay to feel bad for the good times, right? Even though it's not fully there.
So, but why? But why do we make that negative though? Like, if anything, like you just saved yourself and saved that person, X amount of years or X amount of time to where being in something that you don't want to be in,
That's true.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I understood that concept back then to be with somebody and stuff like that for that, you know. Now, like I said, I think it's a generational thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our grandparents and you know what I'm saying, parents did that back then, right? Because to raise the kids and stuff like that, of other people will say, but why? Why do we put such a negative connotation to that when
Letting
it's
people
actually,
go.
yeah,
Oh.
like I mean, like it's just like,
Yeah, I don't want to forgive someone for their bad actions if it's continuous. I mean, I could forgive it if they make that effort to change, but if they're continuously doing it and not changing, I don't think I want to deal with it anymore.
exactly. So, but why is that bad though? Like you
It's
said,
not.
it's
But
not.
people will judge you and say it's
That's
bad.
fine though.
Yeah.
That's fine because right, it's all about perspective.
I thought you had
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no, no.
I
But
thought-
real quick though,
yeah,
because
so-
that was one of the other things where we talked about like
Forgiveness.
forgiveness,
And mercy. Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
Forgiveness and mercy, right? Like I said, like people like look at that being too forgiving or being too merciful like as a weakness, but like I said, for me, and I can tell you, to be honest with you, and like I said, I've had this conversation with my pops. One of the best things that he ever let me do was, like even his lifelong of grind, was allow me to express how I felt at that moment, right? Because honestly, I was filled by animosity, I was fueled by betrayal, I was fueled by all of those things, and then I finally realized once I was able to forgive, I was able to go ahead and bloom so much more and appreciate everything of which happened to get me to this point. But it was because of forgiveness, and it was multitudes of times. I'm like, yo, I'm telling him, like, man, like, yo, we keep building up the bridge, yo. You keep tearing it down. I was like, yo, but this last time you just blew it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just hit it with a cranium charge. What you want me to do? Like, you know, but learning how to forgive, and even though, yeah, I mean, it might be slip up here and there, but I mean, to me, I don't see that as a really weakness because you're able to let go of all that negativity, you know, off of that, and that person is able to show you who they truly are. At the end of the day, right? And then us as human beings, self-rationalize. We only want to see the good part, but then in all honesty, right? Like, yo, my man, I gave you like X amount of chances. When are you gonna finally go ahead? And the reason why I'm so convicted about that, because even to myself and now, like I'm like, look, there's certain aspects of my life I have to completely cut out. If I do not completely cut out certain aspects of my life, I'm gonna keep doing it, and I'm gonna keep hurting the ones I love. I don't want to hurt the ones that I love because I know in my heart I'm not a bad person.
And you get into your self-regulation right there,
Yeah.
and just regulating the things that you do. I think I like the point that you hit. I personally think you should celebrate. I think you should. I'm not saying cheer for joy because you have exes, of course, but I'm just saying like I think that the negative connotation is from people thinking that they have like a number. Like it's like if you hit X amount of relationships or X amounts of interactions with people, then your value is going down. Kind of like they think of it as though it's like a car. You know, if I give you a car, I'm like, yo, this has only had 57 owners as opposed to another car. I'm like, yeah, this had 2 prior owners. They treat it in great condition. Like people are afraid of their Carfax. They're afraid of their history, and I think that we should. I think it should be celebrated. If the vehicle, you know, if you take good care of the vehicle, it'll get you to where you need to go. So, I personally think that if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. You shouldn't draw too much on it because unless you're in the same exact space, or maybe worse sometimes, because I know sometimes we think in mountains and peaks. Sometimes, I mean, peaks and valleys. Sometimes we believe that we're at the valley and we can only look up and we're like, dang man, I felt that way when I was with X amount of person, or people viewed me that way when I was with X amount of person. And sometimes we get to that peak and it's like, dang, I can't go anywhere from here. like this is it. Like this is my ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think it's just important to regulate. I personally, I've had them both. I've had people I was like, yeah, I was toxic to you, and I had other people who was like, you have been toxic to me. And I think there's just learning experiences because you know, at the end of the day, what Pop said, you live. You live. So I mean, that's just my opinion of it. But I actually want to shift some of that energy around because I was just thinking right now, like when we talk about relationships, like you guys have like when you grew up, you think of like whether it's a cartoon or like freaking a show, like what was that one relationship that you just like kind of want that? Me personally, it was like I used to watch Danny Phantom a lot, so I kind of
Danny
wanted
Phantom.
me.
Sam?
Which was that one?
Yeah, I kind of want me
Is
a
the
quiet.
guy that
He turned to a
was
ghost,
Phantom.
man.
Yep.
That boy, this little white boy was getting it. His parents were ghost hunters, and he got accidentally in one of their little machines that has an entry to the another world, and then he got half ghost, so now he has ghost powers. But that's Danny Phantom. He's pretty dope. Same person made Fairly Odd Parents. However,
Yeah.
I like his relationship with one of his homegirls that was saying she's just cool, she relaxed.
She's also rich.
She's yeah, but she doesn't display that.
Mhm.
The
She's
show isn't
gothic.
the show is not about her being
You find out
rich.
later when they're in her
So
place.
I was just saying,
Spoiler
I was
alert.
like, yeah, I was like, if you never watched this amazing show, then don't think of her as rich. But I like their interactions because he was doing his thing, and then she was living like her life, showing her true character, and I think that they enhanced each other, and I always thought that was cool because he liked like the quote unquote popular girl, like that cheerleader as most cartoons will have it, and the one that was liked by everyone. But then like when they started getting into it, like he was like, well, I like this person because everyone likes this person, but the way I'm with this other person, like I feel like comfortable. We talk about everything, we're chilling, and I was like, yo, I like that. So I like me
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
doom and gloom in my girl. Like, what's up? Is that black lipstick and makeup? What's up? Them nails black? What's up? But I was just curious, just shifting the energy. What do you guys have like, as far as like not crushes, but like an actual relationship, like from some sort of early media?
I would have
We
said
can come back to you.
Topanga.
Oh.
I would have said Topanga from Boy Meets World, but no, no, no. I'm just
Topanga
kidding.
and Corey.
No, 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 no. Like so like relationships. I looked up to. I looked up to my uncle. So he's my mom's youngest brother, but he's pretty much like an older brother though too. I've always admired their relationship because they were high school sweethearts. So they're still, once again, right? We think high school sweethearts is all the way to the mountain, even though
Mhm.
right they reached the top of the mountain, even though they're only halfway there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not the case, they've gone through this stuff, but I was like, man, high school sweetheart, like that's like I said, I'm corny. That's dope to me. I was just like, man, that's cool, and he's still together. They recently became grandparents about a year ago, and they're gonna visit Hawaii like next month, and they're gonna stay with me actually. So,
That's
yeah,
dope.
man.
Oh, thinking about it now, I can't think of a good example of a good relationship. Like I mean, around my family is I feel like so here in the Philippines they have this bias like that fair skin is beautiful. Fair skin
Oh man, I
is
guess I'm
what
ugly
looks
then.
good. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so
sorry, bro. I guess
so
we out.
I don't know what it is. Like they literally have whitening soap. They
Yeah.
have all sorts of stuff that makes you have fair skin. And I think I grew up on that thinking that fair skin is like beautiful. Like I I'm attracted to that. But once I moved out of that mentality, moving out of the Philippines, moved here in the United States, that changed. I've seen so much more culture. I've seen so much more. Like there's you can find beauty in so many different like races,
Yeah.
and that just kind of like took me out. Like so, like I was just like thinking about that, like that mentality in the Philippines of just fair skin is beautiful. I never now I never get like I don't get that anymore. Like before, like I don't like I still don't understand the reason why that is attractive. I still don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I can give you that science. You know me, I'm a studier. Fun
Alright.
fact
It's talked about a lot.
about growing up here, I actually thought the exact opposite. I was never attracted to white girls day in my life. It was just like Hallie's was just like we had like 7 or 8 in our school, and it was just like because I was here since elementary, so I've never like it was just like something like different. Like I wanted a Filipina, I wanted freaking Latina, I wanted something with a in it, and or mixed with a something. Like I just for me it was just like I don't know. I thought of it like white rice. Like I was just like it was just plain for me. Wow. And then
I like that.
I went to New York. I went went to upstate New York. I went to Fort Drum, and then I also been in Syracuse, and I saw so many people with, as the term we would say, they're snow bunnies. So many chocolate and snow bunny mixes. That I was just like, yo, I didn't. Is this the thing? Like, I missed the wave. And then
Somebody getting some BAH.
like, what is going on here? And then I joined the military. I did a couple of duty stations, but one of them I went to Germany where it's just abundant. And then I was just like, man, like that girl is really fine. Like it was like it didn't matter. I said, I don't care what color, she's really fine. But then in Germany is where I learned that they have the exact opposite. They actually think the darker the skin, you start getting to the other side of the hemispheres of the world, and they start saying, oh well, the darker you are,
Man, that's so
like the
Mhm.
better. So
That's so
like
fascinating.
they do tanning and they do like they try to make their skin darker, and
Yeah.
it's a whole there. So regionally, but for the white part of fair skin, they associate it with like purity. They associate it with like unclean. I mean not unclean, but clean and not dirty. And there's a lot of
European
propaganda to
ideologies.
that. Yeah,
The Western
but then
ideologies.
other with that, as far as like dark being beautiful, black being beautiful, like dark skins, like kissed by God and sun kissed, and they get into all. So they have their different religion and different like thoughts of how it is. Me, I'm just like, yo, she pretty, she pretty. At this point, like she pretty, and no matter what, even if I'm with a black girl, like one day I'm gonna be like black mixed with black, cause I'm mixed with a few other things outside of black. So no matter what, I'm destined to have a mixed kid unless I get someone with the exact same like, dang, you got French in you. Like, oh, snap, man. You do? Like, oh man, and you Haitian? And you Jamaican too? That's crazy. We should mate. So that's just it for me. As far as that question, because I thought about that recently. I just looked it up. Like some people really like fair skin. Some people really like dark skin. They
Mhm.
flip it. They associate it with wealth.
Also, when colonizers came to whatever land they say they discovered, they'd call the people of color that they saw savages, and they would think of the cultural practices as terrible, which is why a lot of our cultural practices are always destroyed, gone. So I think that plays, and it's still there today a bit. What did you say?
Me?
Barbaric, savages. They say that. They've said stuff like that, and they've also killed people of
Mm-hmm.
color. So then the people feel shame of speaking their own language. I know, like in Hawaii, they stop speaking Olelo Hawaii, because if they do, they get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah,
something for
sure.
you.
You know, you took history on this. You lived here.
I did. I have lived here, and I did take forced history, which does not count in some other states, by the way. You guys should probably fix that. I had to take 3 social studies classes my senior year because none of my Hawaiian history counted. But you know, I'm not salty or nothing. But my question for you, Christine, would be like, have you ever dealt with like dating someone of color or of not
Darker
color?
skin than you?
Yeah, and like what if like
Or mixed.
briefly have you had any
Like seeing someone.
experiences with that, like dating someone, whether they be the complete opposite, whether you're dating, you know, a white person or whether you're dating someone that's dark, like, and then having different challenges. Since you brought it up as like a thing, you have anything?
No, I have. I definitely have seen. I went out with someone from my. I probably shouldn't say this. We've kept it a secret. I'm gonna keep it vague. My dance group. This person was a mix of things. Oh my gosh, I'm like so.
No, that
I
makes
know I'm
sense.
trying to be vague. I'm like,
Yeah,
someone's gonna listen to this and try to think. Who
They're
did she go out
already
with?
they're already on Google right now,
Dance
pulling
group.
up the class
I don't
picture.
know
What's
what
the
to
name of
say
your-
his races because if I
What's the
say
name
it,
of the
they'll
dance
figure it
group?
out.
Well,
What's the name of the dance
Yeah,
group?
yeah, that's
What
what
dance
they're
group?
gonna
Not a
say.
dancer. Oh no, that limits it. Ah!
What's the name of the dance group?
Hey, I'm
Might
What's
as
the
well
name of
go
the
for
dance
it.
group? Yo,
Whatever,
what's the
you know
name?
what? It's out there. He's Native American, Hawaiian, he's African American too.
Whoa,
I don't know.
whoa, what's the name of the dance group?
Oh, my dance group's Tahiti Mana. This group
Oh,
I'm with right now. I was actually just
Okay.
seeing someone and I just recently ended things, but it wasn't a girlfriend boyfriend thing, but we were seeing each other in secret for a couple months.
Yeah.
One thing, okay, because I've dated, you know, my last ex in Washington State that I was with for 3 years is a white boy, and some of the things that was difficult was talking about race. Because he didn't understand it, and I would be upset about something, and then he would say, but it's not there. It's not everybody. Like, not every police officer will be mean to you. Is the comment I would get. Love him. He's understanding, but it would hurt a bit because I felt like he didn't understand. Now, this person that I was seeing, it was interesting to talk to him because he struggled with, where do I fit in? And he grew up in California, but then when he came here to Hawaii, he was like, oh, I finally fit in. I finally have a place where, because he's struggling with all these different identities. Like, I'm black, I'm Native American, and I'm Hawaiian. Like, what am I? What does it even mean to be all these different races?
Does it mean anything? I would ask you.
For me?
Does it mean anything to have those different races?
I think, well, I guess I think too much. I appreciate the different cultures. The thing that I would struggle with in that position is, if you guys believe in generational trauma, there's different traumas from all those different groups, like how he would be healing all of that. And if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry for putting you out there. Sorry.
We don't. I don't think they know yet. Yeah. But
I took a picture of. I was like, oh, about to do a podcast. He probably saw it. He's still following me on Instagram.
All right. I mean, it's okay.
Friends.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
I was just curious. You know, you said that you brought up the people of color and difficulty. So as we were talking about relationships, I was like, well, have you had any difficulties with relationships? And then when you said there were sometimes you skipped over a little bit, but as far as like I was like, what is important to you about him being able to have that conversation like with you? Like, is that something that you particularly crave? Just that ability to the softly vent? So is it understanding? And I want to know this, and this is for my fellas that's listening out with their girls. Is it listening? Like more so just understanding you, like listening, or is it like bringing something to the table, like coming up with like any not solutions to race? We're not gonna solve that in a conversation, but like coming up with like, oh man, like they should do this or they should have done that, because those can be distinctly two different things. So I would say that just listening and being supportive and whatever you need could be that comfort support level that you could have, because outside of being that color, like you're really not, unless you like do like a change.
A white woman or man, if you're swinging both ways or the other way.
Have I dated? Yeah, but when it comes to sorry, no buts, but I've dated a white girl, but when it comes to the issues of like being a person of color, I've never been into like a you don't understand because you're white. It's always been like I had the great experience in middle school of being chased out of my middle school and by a giant mob of people, me and the other 7 black people. I know I've told you before. I haven't told the podcast.
You showed me the area too.
I have.
I jumped over that.
I'm bringing this story up so that you would know that I like when it comes to race issues, that's not necessarily something that I need her to be black. I don't need her to go through that mob experience to be like, well, how do you feel now? Do you feel like you belong now? Like, do you feel like you're part of a group like now? I that's why I was just curious, because when you said people of color and then going through, I was like, I could really date anyone at this point, and it's all about that personality and like, because where I'm at. But if you're not there when it comes to support systems, like some people really do want a person of color or someone that looks like them to be supportive, because that's what they're trying to build up in. Like, I want more I want more more freedom, and I want to feel more pride as a black man in America, so I'm gonna date a strong black woman. Like, that's definitely, if someone wants to do that, that's fine. Like, I just don't think that it's necessarily like the quote. Like, I think that you date someone and that's your partner, and like, what do you need from your partner, and then you go from there. That's my thing. I was curious because I think that we also get the fortunate of being able to date a good amount. I've talked to only a few people that's only dated one type of person their whole life, or it was shunned. Like, I definitely walked into a girlfriend's house and her mom be like, she didn't know I spoke Spanish, but freaking be like, what is he doing here? Or you date black people and don't wind up pregnant. Like, I definitely been like, she's not gonna wind up pregnant, man, and then like moved on with my life. But I think that as far as understanding a piece of it, like I think that's just a conversation. But I think people are talking a little bit more these days. As far as being called a savage and a beast, yeah, but there's sometimes when you see that in those actions, like if you took that color and swapped it out, like the act of like taking a chair and breaking into a window or breaking into a store or setting it on fire. Like I was in Bragg, they had riots. They had a bunch of riots going on last year. But anybody who's like burning a house down is someone that like just because that person was a lawmaker without any regard to like the kids or the family. I think any person like that's a savage. It doesn't matter their color. But the fact that the people in front of the and terrorists, the fact that people in front of the camera were people of color, I think it's more so the act as opposed to the people. But some people associate the people with acts, you know. But fighting stereotypes is also something that we've been doing for years. It's not an overnight solution. I think the conversation, like things that we do now, like this, is a giant step. Just being able to see people from all these different backgrounds, you know, just sit there and just talk. And we've been talking about some pretty like heavy things. I would say for the last, I'm gonna say going on three good hours, and we're just chilling. It didn't feel forced. Like I think we definitely have been hitting some heavy points. And I think it's interesting to hear these different perspectives. That's why I'm really glad you come up here and give us your, not only with your masters and all your great knowledge in your program, and just having a non-military experience, I guess.
I was a dependent.
I grew up a military kid as well.
I do too.
But I think that dating someone, I've dated someone who grew up in a military family, and then they still didn't understand the day-to-day of the military because they compare it to what they know. If their dad was high-ranking, which also tends to happen with a lot of us military people that grew up, it's not like, hey, I grew up, what was your mom? Your mom was a E3. Like, it's very rare, very rare that you get someone that's like, yo, my mom was at the bottom. Like, what do you mean? Like, they're usually like a higher rank. So even then, like the freedom, that's pretty free. You start getting your own housing. You start getting a lot of freedom. You don't have to do that barracks life.
So, but then I think once again, I'll just go back to your comment.
Mm-hmm.
The not understanding is okay. Like you said, like right, like I may not like understand like your perspective, but like that I don't know, for like me it's like that. Once again, given the situation, it's like I don't think I should just cut you off because you haven't experienced that or you don't understand that. Like that doesn't make you a bad person. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's this is just because like like wow, like just because he didn't understand, like man, that sucks. Because once again though, right, like because right, like I'm never gonna understand like that what you had to go through, like you know what I'm saying, coming from the Philippines, like coming now over here and serving, you know what I'm saying, or you growing up in other beach, like I'm never gonna understand that, like and especially if you want me to be part of your support group, I can't speak to that, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
and I wasn't from the Philippines, so I wouldn't be able to speak on that experience or understand it.
So I was just like wow, like dang, that's you just no, you don't understand, like you know what I'm saying? He said, I just think at that point in time, like he was just trying to like help the situation, like damn, well not everybody's bad, and in the world, like not everybody's evil, not everybody wants to be at the top, not everybody wants to go ahead and use you, like there are really good genuine people out there, and I just don't think we make enough focus on that, like you know what I'm saying, like because we are so technology advanced, educationally advanced, right, like there's got to be a why. There's got to be a why. No, sometimes there's may not be a why, but that's okay. That's okay because maybe this situation may not have a why, but it's gonna tie into this situation, and that's gonna explain why this situation happened.
So I don't know the full situation with what happened, like the not understanding part, right? It could be because it depends on your values and beliefs. That his values and beliefs are different. Like for example, you stick with that. For example, like say one person doesn't understand my culture. Like it might be important for me because I want them to meet my family, and my family is within that culture. And if they don't understand that, they might judge that Like I don't want them judging my family, or maybe that's just their value and belief. Like, like we do some extreme stuff, like balut. We like the
Kill
egg,
the goat right
you
there in front of
know,
everybody.
like
Drain the blood.
we do some
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we
yeah.
have a like we literally so like just food itself we do some extreme stuff, but at the same time
But see,
I
extreme
don't.
food though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect them to like fully like understand it, maybe, but maybe it depends on the conversation y'all had. Like the conversation y'all had on like, um,
Support you though.
so maybe he doesn't understand or she doesn't understand, but how much did she try to understand or did he try? Did he try to understand? And how much did I converse with that person? Like I want you to understand this because this is important to me.
Oh, I see, I
And
see.
then for them, like, well, I don't understand it is because maybe I don't believe in it. Like for example, like just for example, a religion. You can't talk to a person that is doesn't want doesn't want anything to believe in religion, But you can talk to them about religion, but they might not have to necessarily believe in it. But
Or
that
agree.
person or agree with it, or that person can talk to a religious person. Why are you believing in God? You don't even have evidence. And I'm like, well, evidence of evidence is evidence, or like stuff like that. So like you can't. So depending on the belief of that person is and what you try to do to make them understand, and how much they try to understand. So it's a double-sided situation, and it really is. It really comes to that conversation you had with that person.
Could, cause do you guys mind if I
Mm.
interject? No. I just, the insight to just say what you just said of like having that person of understanding, right? Like not like right completely like look, I'm atheist, right? We have these monikers and other people or whatever, right? Actually, interesting fact. One of my best friends is like shout out to Alex. So he's in Europe right now. He's one of the athletic coordinators out there. Monster, y'all, monster. So my boy played pro football in Europe, American style. But he, I say that because me and him are the opposite. Like I have a faith, right? I
Mhm.
have a religion, and he doesn't. His faith or his religion would be, he would tell you at that point in time, was his heavy metal book. Like my man is all about heavy metal. Like you know what I'm saying? Like like we listen to In Flames, I was like Dying, like just crazy stuff like that. Double pedals, you know. But the insight, right? Like of once again, like trying to hear each other's perspectives. And we had this like talk, and this is what kind of really brought us moving more together. Was like I was like, yo, dog, I just want to hear what you hear. He wasn't just like, oh no, right? You're like, yo, you're a Christian, so you're automatically gonna shut me down. All Christians better than that. But it was just like, yo, having just this conversation to where like, yo, like we could talk. Like he's like, like evidence. I'm like, well, it's like, well, this is why I believe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it was like, well, this is why I believe, and I was just like, wow, like that's dope. That's dope in the aspect of like we are having this, and nobody's putting on blinders. Nobody's like condemning or cursing out people anymore. Like so, it is possible, and it's beautiful when it comes together, and you see like these bonds, or like you appreciate. Like I appreciate his perspective on that. He isn't biased, or he isn't seeing it from this side to where like I'm like, hey, what you think about this? You know what I'm saying? To where he's adding more value to me. And then either I believe what I believe, and I have faith in what I think. He does too, but that's okay. Like my understanding of still why to this day why he still views it like that, that's okay to me. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that don't make me love him any more or less. If anything, that makes me love him more because I'm like, yo, dog, like yo, like you really stand up for what you believe in. That's dope. Like you really truly believe it, bro. More power to you, Brody.
Mm-hmm.
More power to you.
No, I'm with that. And same thing said about having that conversation, having people that you're able to converse with, and it's just you never know. Like it might not even been the conversation of do you get this? It might just be like a deep seated thought of like people should get this, or you should like my partner should be supportive of me no matter what, or my partner should understand me no matter what the struggle is. And it could be like hitting on that nail. It's like, okay, well, I can't understand you, and you feeling like, man, but my partner should. And then like having that moment because well, a lot of times we'll blend that should or like how we believe with our value, like because some of our households, like our at least mine in particular, they're very strong communities, but they always throw a should into it. Like, hey, you gotta be, you gotta be from this side of the net, this side of woods to understand this.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, you talking like this, you should be from here.
Yeah.
Like, so they hear those type of things and then get reinforced. As I'm older, I do have certain should statements that I'll be like, yeah, I think that when you miss someone, you mess up, you should apologize.
Yeah.
Now, forgiveness and all that played much later because my only belief was that you mess up, you should apologize. So if I slight you, I'm apologizing. That's as far as I got. I don't got I should be trying to fix it, or I don't got that, to look at the future. I got it. You mess up, hey, apologize. Keep on going. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry. Keep on going. I think it's just great. It's all about perspective, man.
Yeah.
So I think finding people that can highlight a different, perspective for you and put it in a different view is great.
Yeah, so like what comes to mind too, like I said, and sorry to use movies and stuff like that, is Love and Basketball.
Oh.
Right?
Never
No,
seen it.
you never seen it.
Oh man, never seen it. Like I said, man,
Yeah.
any movie reference, I'm gonna
Oh, you
probably be
gotta
out,
watch
man.
it though, because
I
it's a
probably
great,
do.
yeah, we're about to start a list. Yeah, we're about to start a list.
I
you
seen
know?
Lion King 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, but so in Love and Basketball, like they
Okay.
grew up together and stuff like that. He was this dude who was about to be SC, played on the Lakers, and she went to UCLA too. Sorry, she went to USC too. And anyways, I'm gonna be a professional basketball player. He ends up busting his knee, gets with Tyra, young Tyra at that, young Tyra Banks, and then she's like, well, I'll play you one on one, for for your love and stuff like that. And she ends up losing, but they fast forward and they come together and they come up so. He is sitting on the sides with their baby girl, and she's playing in the WNBA, and that's why I just thought about it. I was like, wow, like that supportive or that perspective, right? Like, cause he had the same dream. He had the same dream now, and he did it. But it was like, you know what? Like, hey, let me support her. Like, I might not get why you still want to do this all these years, but like, yo, I'm rolling with you. I'm riding with you. And that's just, I don't know. It's just,
Being supported is fire.
Right, yeah.
Being supported is fire.
Yeah. Oh,
Go
yeah.
support somebody.
You know what, too? Because first I think about in class, when like one of our dudes answers and stuff for our table and we chair. I always think about the clip with the two little boys. Remember, he's like, oh, which one's 7? And my man's like looking, and he's like, yeah. And then his homie's like, yeah, that's right. That's my man. Like, stop playing with him. Stop playing with him. Yeah, like I feel like I'm that dude. Like, bro, I would just hype you up too, cause like, man, I love it though too, because I appreciate it. Like, I'm like, yo, if, like I said, like that's why I can never understand like why people slight each other, why people hate on each other. But it's because it's like, yo, if this dude came from your stable and he's winning, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all get chance. We all get chance. So that's why I'll just be like, oh, let's go.
If you look at it though, in both perspectives, the supporter is happy about that person, and that person is happy because he's being supported by that supporter. So like, it's just giving off
not necessarily.
Well,
no,
like,
you
I mean,
know what
they're
I'm
both.
saying?
He's happy about the achievement and all that, but like, they're both giving out positive emotions to each other. Like they're just passing it off
100%.
because I'm supporting this person and they're achieving their dreams, and he's achieving his dreams because he's being supported. Like sometimes you can't reach certain things because you're not supported. Sometimes like it happens. Like you always hear in like change of command ceremonies. Thank you for the support of my family. Thank you for the support of my wife. Thank you for the support of my children. Maybe they couldn't have done it without them. Like
so 100% agree. Yeah.
So like them being supported, like seeing their partner or seeing that person go up is making them happy. So they're like that positive emotion might just keep them on keeping supporting them. And at the same time, they might also like something happens to them that like, you know what, I'm gonna do something too.
Yeah.
And then the other person support them, and then they just like keep like they're just feeding off positive emotions to each other and gratitude and all this kind of stuff. They're just like building upon each other. Well, it's pretty good, man.
No, it's dope though. That's dope. You're right. I tell you, positive is like, hey man, that's contagious, bro. That's like why me in class, man, I smile at everybody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all in the training status, homie. Like, we the same rank. Like, I'm smiling at you. I mean, I ain't gonna call you out of pocket, but you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna address you accordingly. But hey, I'm smiling. You know what I'm saying? And that's just because, like I said, bro, I know what it's like to be negative. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like I said, like you tell me, ask me how I'm doing, shit, I hit you with the corniest shit every time. Highly motivated, truly dedicated. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, right? Like it just makes you smile. Like you know, like yeah, this sucks, but damn, like oh, motherfucker, you got me. Like yeah, I got you. Like is just that easy. Just making choices, man.
Yeah, man. I think if we all take the time to just figure out how we can add to the positivity in the world, it's our own way. I envy sometimes people that can just like I'll put it like you, me. I'm a more of a drier person, so people usually catch it like in posts. Like I'll say something, and then they'll start laughing because I was like, all right, you get my dry humor.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
my
I get it, bro. It's dope, bro. I love it. I love it.
My
Though.
energy won't back it up all the
Yeah.
time until I get hyped up.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for people to realize, like, hey, like you're making someone else's day. You have the capacity to make someone
Yeah,
else's
hundred
day,
percent.
and try to add value to other people. Because I've always had the notion that to become an interesting person, you have to have an interest in people, and I think that people that give value to others, whether that be smiles or edifying them by telling them, hey man, you did great today.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as like our first time, like when people see this, they're like, all right, so what are the other episodes? Like, bro, that's our first one. We don't got a plethora of episodes. Or like just bringing up and digging up people's strengths and stuff like that. I think that that's just such a strong positive, and I think that's something that we're able to carry on and pass on to anyone that follows us. Like we see this, and then there's gonna be like, yo, that group of people, like, I wonder what they're doing. I'm sleeping.
It's
Shit.
definitely contagious, man. Like you can just imagine like the
Wait,
the
how about
domino
this?
effect.
Yeah, and going to the domino effect. But how was it that I kept bothering you? So I was bothering this man about like, yo, for him to take care of himself because at the point in time, call it for what it is, you were being a hypocrite, never take care of yourself.
Hmm.
So how about now? Like, has it like, have I pushed and kept peckering you enough to where like, yo, like my man taking care of himself?
No, definitely, man. Like, all right, I'm gonna explain my week. So like I went into this class ready to learn, and I learned a lot of stuff. Like don't get me wrong, like so much knowledge in that class that I can use in my personal and professional life, and like him and you being like right beside so many different people every day. Like I learned to get to know you. I learned to get to know him, other people that I sat with. Um, just knowing some certain aspects of their life gave me some positivity and and it's contagious to the point that literally Wednesday I went to my computer, applied for a school, got enrolled, registered for a class. Next day,
Yeah.
Army Ignited, um, requested for TA assistance, TA like tuition
Yep.
assistance, and yesterday, I think this morning it said I'm ready for the class, and the class starts Monday,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that happened within 1 week, not even less than a
Let's
week.
go.
Go.
Stop playing with him, yo. Stop playing with him,
No,
yo.
so like less than a week. Like I said, it's contagious. Like it's a domino effect to the point that me myself, I started that class, and maybe me starting that class, I can spread the knowledge and just like that positivity. Like something like for example, you said earlier, like I go to I go to a store, talk to the cashier, and I'm like, "How's your day going? What's going on out?" Like something like positive. You say something positive, and they just brighten up their day, because everything's just been going bad, and then something positive just like makes up your day, and then guess what? That after that, that person comes home with positive attitude, and just like that that might have like lightened up that house because that house also was down.
Yeah.
Like so like it's
Yeah.
so contagious, and the next day they might pass it on. The next person does it, and the next person does it, and just bringing out like just spreading positivity out there is just amazing.
Yeah, hell yeah. Fire it up. Fire it up.
Ooh, I need to take another class. I'll take another class.
Yeah, aerosol's next for these two, y'all. Yeah, they're gonna be double stacked and triple stacked over here,
About
y'all.
to get here. Nah, man, I really appreciate it, first and foremost, all you guys taking out the time to come out here.
Yes, sir.
Chat it up with me. We talk about a plethora of topics. I think it was good, man. It was good vibe. We gotta figure out a way to get Christine some Cocoa Puffs. And
I think I've had it.
A little too though.
Yeah, I miss.
we gotta get Big Loose on
Yes, sir.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start from Boy Sean, and then we go around the room, and if you want to plug anything. If not, just shout out your IG remarks you want to get, and then I'll just close this out.
Appreciate that. Once again, thank you for having me. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Lou. Man, just man, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, I didn't realize what time, we ran through. But no, just thank you for letting me be here. I appreciate that.
So, um, first thing I want to say is thank you for having me. I'm glad that I met some amazing people today and got to know them better. And also, like, the amount of knowledge I learned today is just amazing. Like just knowing more stuff over and over, I might be able to pass it down. So, whoever's watching, if you learned anything from this, make sure you pass it down too.
Hell yeah.
That's all I got.
Pass it down.
Mahalo for having me. Generic response. um, yeah, I appreciate the perspectives of my colleagues here. Thank you. Friends.
Such a strong word.
I'm sorry.
I like
That
all
master's
these.
degree.
Yeah,
Friends. I'm
yeah.
sorry, my friends.
Easy with that graduate degree.
I appreciate it. It's made me think more. I'm gonna think about it too as I continue my schooling. Schooling's also making me think a lot. So yeah, I hope to be a part of other podcasts in the future.
No. Easy. Easy money.
Sounds like a
And
question the way I said that.
No, I think you were asking, but yeah, you're free to join in. We could, I like to say, like, I'm really thankful for this group that I got. I'm glad that I have the ability to do something that I really love, man. I love having these conversations, like, and up front, like, I typically keep these things anywhere from 45 to an hour and a half, but I just love the conversation so much that I was just like, keep it going, keep it going.
3 hours.
And hey man, we hit the mark, but we got a lot of jewels, and so I'm probably gonna mix this up and I'll release it. I'll chop it up. I'll send you guys the link or whatnot. But I really appreciate it because like one of the things that I've always believed in was legacy, and it's very hard for me to figure out like how I'm gonna build that legacy, how I'm gonna build that. They say that generational wealth, but I also think wealth is knowledge and just having the ability to know what to do. Like just think about like in high school, like the times that you had a little play money, like $50 here and there. But if you would have invested it and just left it alone, you could have been crazy. You could have flipped that money. There's so many opportunities,
Yeah.
but you just don't have the knowledge. So I'm very grateful for everybody here to give me different perspectives. I hope to see somebody else again and at least get the group going again, do an after party. We try different things. We can even talk about different topics. Make it a little looser. Talk about something heavy. I might hit you guys with nothing but questions instead of being a strong
Drink
talker
and
next
talk.
time. And yeah, I was about to say, might switch it up last time. Throw us some drinks. Like get comfortable. Definitely change location. Now that I see we can just do it this way, we can definitely go in a living room, a wider area. But I like to say, like I said, I appreciate you guys. I'm curious to what we'll call this. I guess we'll just name it later. But I'm MarquisSoLive. All the ads are going to be in the video, all in the description. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much. Congratulations to all my new Legacy Leaguers. And I appreciate you. Have a blessed day. All right, deuces.
Shoots.